we go. My eyes feel like they're gonna bleed, dried up and bulging out my skull. My mouth is dry, my face is numb, messed up and spun out in my room. On my own, here we go. My mind is set on overdrive. The clock is laughing in my face. A crooked spine, my senses dull. I'm past the point of delirium. On my own, here we go. Feel like they're gonna bleed, dried up and bulging out my skull. My mouth is dry and my face is numb, messed up and spun out in my room. On my own, here we go. Dog goes wolf, cat goes meow, bird goes tweet, and mouse goes squeak. Cow goes moo, frog goes croak, and the elephant goes toot. Ducks say quack, and fish go blub, and the seal goes ow, ow, ow. But there's one sound that no one knows. What does the fox say? What the fox say? What the fox say? Hotty, hotty, hotty ho, hotty, hotty, hotty ho, hotty, hotty, hotty ho. What the fox say? Chop, 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 chow, chop, 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 chow, chop, 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 chow. What the fox say? Big blue eyes, pointy nose, chasing mice and digging holes, tiny paws up the hill. Suddenly you're standing still. Your fur is red, so beautiful.
Hey everybody, it's the top of the hour, meaning you've still got a little bit of time to grab yourself some snacks, get something to drink, get all cozy, and share the link out to your friends and family not already on the stream, because the Suzette Veneti Show will begin in about 2.5 minutes.
You speak to that horse, horse, horse. What does a fox say? What the fox say? What the fox say? What the fox say? of the fox, ancient mystery. Somewhere deep in the woods, I know you're hiding. What is your sound? Will we ever know? Will always be a mystery. What do you say? You're my guardian angel, hiding in the woods. What is your sound? Will we ever know? I want to know.
Welcome to the Virtual Stab Comedy Theater. It's time for the Suzette Veneti Show. Please welcome to your screen, Suzette Veneti.
Hi everybody, it's, guess what, 5:03. That's time for the Suzette Veneti Show because it's Sunday and it's February 28th. So if you have anything to do on Leap Day, you're either a year too late or 3 years too early. So figure it out. It's not my job. Thanks. Welcome to the Suzette Veneti Show, the only show hosted by a drag princess who's wearing a dress that evokes a movie and a video. Which ones? I don't know. Okay, here we go. A rooster was fitted with a blade for cockfighting in India. Killed its owner with a fatal stab to the penis. So, to put that more concisely, a bladed cock sliced the cock of an idiot that put the blade on the wrong cock. Lesson: don't weaponize cocks. Staying in animal news, a gray wolf known as OR93, a young male from Oregon, has moved from just south of Mount Hood to Mono County, California. OR93 has traveled further than any known gray wolf, to relocate to California ever. While it's been speculated that OR93 moved to get away from the libertarian community in Oregon, it's actually because OR93 wants to get away from the pack that let him be named OR93 and move to a state like California, where he can feel free to name his pups real names, like Tim or Andy. In the NBA news, two-time NBA champion Vernon Maxwell is calling the Utah Jazz fans farm animals on Twitter. Jazz fans very upset about this are clucking and neighing in disgust. In politics, the House Republicans were furious. Sorry, it sounded like a drag family. The House Republicans were furious over the summer when the House made unprecedented changes allowing lawmakers to designate a proxy and vote on their behalf amid traveling concerns due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Now the House Republican leadership even is leading a law, back then they led a lawsuit over the change, calling it unconstitutional. But now, surprise, members of the GOP have decided that it suits them and they would like to designate proxies, each citing ongoing public health emergency, to travel to Florida for the Conservative Public Action Conference. This, of course, is not the first time the GOP has been hypocritical. You can read all about all the other times they've been hypocritical on the bathroom stalls in the truck stops that they like to frequent. That was a long way to go for that joke. In local news, Joseph Lowwater allegedly rammed his white SUV into a victim's vehicle at a Target parking lot when a parking dispute escalated and became a hit and run. I was going to make a joke about them targeting vehicles, but then the more I read about it, the more I read that Mr. Lowwater screamed racial slurs at the couple that he hit with his white SUV. So he's a douche, and I don't have a joke there. But that's okay, because we're just going to move on with the rest of the show to where the real talent is. And just a quick reminder, Stab Comedy Theater's information is above my pretty little head, so if you want to send some coin or give a follow, that would be amazing. If you're watching on Twitch, give a follow and throw up some fun emojis, and if you have questions during the show, go ahead and type them, and if they're good, we'll say them on the show. But with that, I want to get to my friend and frequent contributor. He's always boiling a pot for me, and it's time that I ask him my weekly question. Clifton Ellison, what's the tea?
Hey, Suzette, how you doing?
How are you?
I'm good. You know, over here, I had a wonderful weekend. I know this sounds hard to believe, but I went wine tasting for the first time yesterday.
Okay.
I got pretty fucked up. And it was amazing. And I bought this wonderful bottle of wine called Dulce. And it's a red wine. It has like little hints of raspberries and things up in it. I'm drinking it right now. And yeah, I'm not classy. I drink my wine out of a regular glass, but you know, hey, we're in a panini right now, so you know, you take what you can get. As far as celebrity news, because we're in a panini, it's very ashy. It's very dry, very unmoisturized, very like, is this something that I think that the girls will want to talk about, or is this just something that was brought up because the girls are bored? Which, you know, I put Azealia Banks on the sick and shut-in list a long time ago because I know she's not well. And, you know, I have my own mental health issues, but Miss Girl, I don't know what's going on with her, but she got engaged, and then she posted a picture of her wedding ring, which was like, it was a Jewish symbol because her fiance is Jewish. And so then I guess wearing it as a wedding ring was offensive. I'm not Jewish, so I don't know. So that's why I'm just talking what I hear.
Was it a Star of David, or was it the Hamsa, the hand with the, like, the thumb and the pinky are equal?
It was the star.
Okay.
And so, like, people were coming in the comments saying, hey, sis, this ain't it. And of course, you know, she don't take criticism about things that are wrong.
Not at all.
And then she ended up flipping it and saying something transphobic. And I'm just like, girl, like, I just saw that and I was just like, you know, you ever type out something and you're just like, what's the point of typing it out? They're not going to listen. They're not going to hear. And then I was just like, you know what? Let me just put my phone down and go ahead and play some video games because I'm not doing this with her today. That's really been my mood with a whole lot of people. It's just, I'm not doing this with her today. Like, just, and I feel like the world would be a better place if everybody just kind of had that mood, because I feel like we get so about things that are really nothing. Like, okay, girl, you want to wear that ring? You want to be stupid? You want to say ignorant things? Go ahead and say ignorant things, because when's the last time you heard one of her songs being a hit?
Oh, it's been a while. I just want to clarify. So she got called out for being accidentally anti-Semitic, so she doubled down and responded with transphobia. That's a weird choice.
It is a weird choice. And I don't know, something's up with her. And I'm just like, you know, I'm going to leave you I'm gonna leave it up to God, as my mom would say. I'm gonna just leave her alone because something ain't right with her. But as far as celebrity news, I'm like, I really honestly have been picking my brain of like, what can I talk about? Because I know I missed last week because I was watching wrestling, and you probably already talked about what I was going to talk about last week. But are you familiar with Meek Mill, the rapper?
I am.
Okay, so he came out with a song that had like some disrespectful lyrics towards Kobe Bryant. And then Kobe Bryant's wife, Vanessa, posted on Twitter, and it was the most respectful, calm clapback. It was just like, I don't know who this man is. I don't know his music, but this is not respectful. And that, I wasn't quoting it directly, but it was very kind of like, hey, my husband died. Let's not do this.
Right.
And so, once again, doubling down when somebody calls you out in ignorance. And it's just like, is this a thing? Like, is this a younger generation thing? Because I don't know. If somebody says, hey, Clifton, you did this, I don't like it, I'm not going to double down and give you even more ignorance if I was in the wrong. Like, it's this whole like online savage thing, because I'm just like, you really wouldn't say this to somebody in the streets, but you're going to sit here and basically disrespect a man who's dead, who is a legend, who's dead, and his family who are still grieving, just because you want to get what they call in wrestling a cheap pop, which is like a cheap reaction, because you want to get a cheap reaction to sell your little albums that I'm not listening to. You know, I couldn't tell you a Meek Mill song to save my life. If you had a gun up to my head and say, recite Meek Mill's lyrics and say, all right, I'm going on to glory, give it to me, because But, did you watch The Real World back in the day?
I did not.
Damn it, Suzette. Girl.
I just didn't get into it. I mean, I know that the reunion's coming up.
Yes, that's what I was going to say. So, you know, of course, everybody's coming out with the plus version of an app. Eventually, we're going to have Pornhub Plus that you got to pay $7 for to stream it, whatever like that. You know, everybody got a damn plus now.
Uh-huh.
So Paramount Plus is another app that's coming out, and I guess they're reviving a lot of the things from the 90s and stuff like that. And they're having a reunion of the original Real World from New York. And it's going to be a whole season of the original Seven Strangers in the same house with the same furniture, same everything. And this is my speed, because, you know, I wasn't the survivor. I wasn't the big brother. I was the Real World. And this was like, they always had like a black person, a white person from the country. They would have someone who was Jewish. They would always have like a very like diverse cast, and just watching the cast kind of get into it. And it was when reality TV was real, not when you could tell the producers were feeding things to them like they do on Drag Race and things like that. We're not going to get into Drag Race. I'm mad at them right now. But
what was the original year of?
It was 1992.
Okay, so that was the year that Azalea Banks last put out a popular song, I believe.
Ooh.
Also, this sounds like her nightmare. There's a house with a black person and a country white person and a Jewish person she could not handle. But go on.
So that was my first exposure to a gay person, because you know, I didn't have any gay people around in my life. And it was just crazy, because you would think that the world has changed a lot since 92. It really hasn't. Just the rug that we swept a lot of things under just got smaller and smaller. And now, like, we just see a lot of the dirt that's been in the house since then. But I would advise, just watch it. It's very interesting. Okay. Last thing, you remember we talked about the Brittany Spears documentary, right?
We did.
And did you watch it?
No, not yet.
Miss Girl.
I know, I'm letting you down. I don't watch anything.
We are in a panini. You got all this time in the world.
I don't.
I know you got Well, yeah, I know you working and things like that though, but
Brunch is a 7-day-a-week job. Honestly,
it is. It
it
really
is
is.
a lot of planning. We have a new layout.
I saw. I was there on Friday.
You were. That's right. That's our new
It looks
brunch layout.
phenomenal. I was like, okay, we are making this work.
That
Like,
was the test run for brunch. Like, did it work? Okay, cool.
no,
we'll
it
do
worked. I had a good time, and I liked. It was very spaced out. It was
Yes.
very like the way how y'all do it. You don't feel like you're in a parking lot or outside. Like you're just like, okay, we here, we having a good time, and after a while, you're just like, well, shit. I forgot I was in a panini because I've been drinking all this wonderful nectar of vodka.
Right. And we want the tables spaced out so you don't feel like, you're still getting your distance, socially distance, unless you come with people. And we can actually seat more people in, and give people more space. So, and I think it's a better viewing experience and a better performance space.
You guys have your stage and the lighting and everything like that. I was like, okay, good on you, bitch. I see you.
But speaking of staging and lighting and dancing, you were saying Brittany Spears.
So the Good Morning America had one of the lawyers from the conservatorship on there. And on the documentary, she at that time was not involved with it, but then she got back into the case. And it's just so ironic because one, The Blast, it's like another internet kind of talk show. You've probably seen their videos floating around. So The Blast actually put the lawyer on blast because I guess this lawyer is about to go on trial for malpractice in the conservatorships with two other clients, which one of them is Mickey, who was the wine girl, the wine. Who was the actor that played in that movie called The Wrestler?
Mickey
and
Rourke?
He was also on. Yes. So there was a conservatorship battle with him. He got out of it, but then this bitch then took a lot of money. And also too, Forbes raised a red flag. How is Britney Spears only worth $60 million, but you had a residency that you're getting paid $500,000 a night, and that residency was going on for 5 years straight, and it was sold out predominantly most of the time. Then you went on tour overseas with that residency, made hella money. You had perfume lines and release not one, not two, not three, but 4 albums during this whole time, but you're only worth $60 million. But Taylor Swift and the other girls are worth 100, 200, like much higher. And something in the milk ain't clean with that. And that's the red flag that the girl was raised. And she was just like, okay, so Britney is paying for the lawyers that are supporting her. And she's also paying for the conservatorship that she does not want to be in. So 2 hands are in the pot taking all this money. And I was just like, how is it that And then I was feeling a type of way because there's another documentary coming out, and I'm just like, okay, what more can you tell us that this one didn't tell us? So now are you starting to profit off of this girl's pain? Like, I don't know, something just don't seem right. I just want my Britney back.
I feel like just like with COVID, we're getting closer to some sort of resolution here. It's just all too public at this point.
Yeah, which is a good thing because the girls have been trying to tell everybody for years, and since this thing finally came out, now everybody's starting to get like the reckoning, and people are putting out the little iOS press release notes app apologies, like Justin. That bitch. Anyways, Team Backstreet Boys over here, by the way, but
Backstreet's back, all right.
Girl. But yeah, that's really it. Everything's just been Nintendo and wine over here.
Although the one that looks like a gnome, like a troll doll, the Backstreet Boy, just, side note, the Backstreet Boy that looks like a troll doll, I don't remember his name.
I know you're talking about Brian.
Yeah, he's super into Trump, and he promised the Trump campaign that they would all perform, and then the other 4 Backstreet Backs were like, no, So,
Yeah, in my mind, they're a quartet now. They're not a,
yeah.
what do they call it? Quint is 5, right? So they're a quartet now. We don't talk about Brian. Brian's chop for me because I saw that and he was on Parlor talking mess and everything like that. And I'm just like, you would think in 2020, 2021, you see the ramifications of lining yourself up with Donald Trump. And if you want to keep your bag and if you want to keep the money flowing, you would just be quiet, keep it to yourself, but you're so vocal with it, and then you wonder why shit plummets around you.
He needs to know that Destiny's Child once had 4 members.
And now Farrah Franklin is somewhere stalking a wet seal. So
just saying, they don't need you, Troll Doll Brian.
And Latavia, bless her heart, she just got off a shift at Costco, and I mean LaToya Luckett, she had some solo success though, but Farrah Franklin, girl. How you get into a group? You only featured on 2 songs. You ain't said not near one ooh or ah on an album. How you fuck up your bag, girl? Like Michelle knew her place, and that's how Michelle stayed. But Farrah just, how you fuck up your bag? And I'm gonna send you a link because there's a funny video from 2000. They're recording independent women, and they're like, she's like, I want to catch a flight. And then Beyonce is like, we can always send you your luggage. And then she's like, how am I going to go home without my luggage? And then they say, and then it goes to commercial break, and the commercial comes back, and then you hear Beyonce saying, and that's when we've decided to become a trio. And I was like, girl, you don't fuck up your bag. Lesson of the day, don't fuck up your bag.
Don't fuck up the bag. Azalea Banks. I mean, there's no bag coming.
Girl, that bag is gone, torn and tattered now. That bag is in a recycling bin.
I know. I just wanted to tie it together somehow, but she fucked up her bag a long time ago.
She did, girl. The 212, it was cute though, but I don't even play that when I work at Badlands now. I'm just like,
You know what? I think we need a Jewish trans drag performer to perform that number, just to balance things out.
You know what? I see you. I'm gonna do some research because I think there are some. Gottmik is not Jewish though, because I was like, damn, maybe Gottmik can do it from Drag Race though. But I don't know. Maybe we can find one. I mean, you're not trans though, but you're Jewish.
Well, that's something that we were talking about backstage. Is you can't make performers, so sometimes you just got to take what's there. So maybe I'll 212 it.
Who knows? I mean, that's the only song of hers that I know and that I like. And But then again, I don't want you to get canceled because somebody will be like, how is she performing this song? You know what she did? It will be like the equivalent of me playing Bump and Grind.
You know what? Doing it in protest. That's what I would say. I think. I don't know. Let's think about that.
We will talk about that. But thank you so much for having me, Suzette.
Thank you so much for being here.
Finish my glass of Dulce, and I'm going to listen to the rest of the segments as I see Miss Chelsea over there looking ta-ta-delicious. And hi, Brittany. How you doing? Yes. So thank you so much for having me, Suzette.
Thank you for joining us from the Real Housewives house, Clifton.
Yes.
And it's always a pleasure. And I'll see you.
My Real Housewives house of foreclosure, but
I will see you soon. If not, in the new layout at the bar, I'll see you on here next Sunday.
Yes, I'll see you.
Okay. Thanks.
Bye.
Love you. Bye. All right, Bees and Booze. That's Clifton Ellison. You can send him some coin. His information was below him. You can give him a follow. And as always, above me is the information and follow information and Venmo information for Stab Comedy Theater, because we are bringing you content during a pandemic. You're welcome. Okay. Before I introduce my next guest, I'm just going to go ahead and fix that because got to make sure I'm all right here. Okay, here we go. I love this next contributor. She is one of my favorite people. She will not adopt me no matter how many times I ask, but that's okay because we can always talk about her dating life or whatever else she wants to talk about, because she always has something interesting, working for your child, traveling, giving me dating advice inadvertently. Please welcome to the show, Chelsea Bearce. Hi.
Were you trying to pull your tits up? I'm done. You're like, hold on a second, and you moved your skin. Shut the fuck up. Get out of here. I can't even handle it.
I'm trying to keep up with you, okay?
I know. I fixed my tits, and I turned my mic off. Like, I didn't even know that was possible. So it's just, get over yourself. How dare you?
Your mic was like,
How
I
are you,
can't.
bitch? How was brunch today? Let's talk about it.
It was good. It was good. Brunch was good. We have a new layout. It's better for everybody.
Okay.
So it was good, you know, and I'm always with Taryn and Helen, who you know, and then Apple, who you love and know. And, I mean, you love Taryn also. But, yeah.
This is very boring what you're saying right now. What songs did you sing? Let's talk about that. What songs did you do?
I did, what did I do? I did Love Again by Dua Lipa.
Okay.
And then I did Fancy by Iggy Azalea.
Great. Good. Very good songs. Okay, great.
I learned sign language for that because it's all about the IGGY.
Oh, very good.
Yeah.
Bravo. Okay. I'm not mad at that. I'm
Thank
not
you.
mad at that at all. That's great. That's awesome.
Thank you.
I know. I never know what I'm going to talk about when I come on here. I'm literally I log in, I turn my fucking ring light on, I listen to Clifton, I watch him drink wine out of a goddamn tumbler. Look at you. I can't. I love him. And it's just like, I never know what I'm going to talk about. So it's just like, I feel like I just need to tell you kind of where I'm at right now. Like I feel like everybody in this pandemic and this whole thing, it's been a fucking year. We've been in this for a full year. Mm-hmm. Okay. This is the new normal. We're not going back, you guys. Okay. This is just how it is now. And we just need to accept it. But it's like I've always said this, is that we used to have good days and bad days. We used to have that, right? Yeah. And now we have like good 20-minute chunks and bad 20-minute chunks. Like that's just, it's the ebb and flow comes really fast and we're all just kind of like accepting it. You need to accept it. That's the thing, okay? We went through periods where, I'm drinking hard liquor out of the bottle because I don't fucking care. And then I go through 2 weeks where I'm like, I'm sober and I exercise now. Like it's just my whole personality changes in a 2-week period. I become a totally different person. You know who I am now? I'm the kind of person who buys fluffy Birkenstocks at Walmart and fake flowers at Hobby Lobby. That's who I am now. That's where I'm at in my quarantine situation.
That's a mood.
We go through different phases, y'all. Okay, I'll start exercising tomorrow, but today I'm buying fake flowers at Hobby Lobby and I'm wearing fake fur Birkenstocks from fucking Walmart.
Birkenstocks.
Okay, huh?
Birkenstocks.
Yeah. But like fur ones. So but that's the thing. That's the thing that you need to do is you need to be okay with it. We're all in trash right now. Like we're all in trash. Okay. Are we doing things? Sure. Are we making things happen? Are we creating content? Absolutely. But is it where we'd like to be? No. And that's okay. If there's a day that we sit and drink wine out of a tumbler and play video games for 7 hours straight, that's okay. Like that's what we need to do is we need to be okay with that. You know what I mean? So that's where I'm at now. It's just, I'm starting to be okay with like, this is where I fucking am. That's what I'm doing. So I'm buying dumb shit. And my exes are coming out of the goddamn woodwork. Can we talk about this?
Yes.
No?
Yes.
See, look, everybody agrees with me. Clifton Brittany's agreeing with me. Oh my God. You guys.
The 4 a.m. texts. Hey, how have you been? How have I been?
See? Oh my God. See? It's totally a thing. It's totally a thing. I can't even handle it. There's so much energy on it. Me and Brittany are like the same person. We're just like, I'm Brittany with a tan and 40 extra pounds. Like, so that's just wait, you guys, you'll fucking see, okay? When I first saw the person, the interview guest today, when I first fucking saw her, I was looking at her and I was like, who the fuck is this that can match me with energy on stage, that can do crowd work like me on stage, but then I'm like weirdly like attracted to her, but I'm also intimidated like crazy. I'm like, who the fuck is, get her off the stage. I don't like her.
What we call that is sexual tension, Chel. That's what we call that.
So anyway, what I'm saying is my exes are just coming out of the fucking, like they're falling from the damn sky. That's the thing. They're falling from the sky. And the level of manipulation is actually almost inspiring. I'm like, how in the fuck are you gonna try to use the fact that you're so lonely and sad and you haven't adapted as a person, you haven't gotten any better, but now you think that you can just weasel your way back in because you think that I'm at your left? Fuck all the way off. I can't. No. Yes, I am lonely. Sometimes I am sad, but guess what? I'm using this time to be okay with myself and to be, thank you. See? Fuck. Clifton, give me some of your goddamn wine. Oh my God, I can't even handle it.
Your exes are not at your level. Your exes are way below. That's why they're your exes.
I hear you and I believe you. Here's the trick though, is that they don't get it. Like they don't get it. They don't get it. You know, when you're there, you don't get it.
Would you like me to tell them?
I'm not even kidding. I literally have an ex who became obsessed with me, who would come to all of my shows, tell me what jokes I could say and what jokes I couldn't say. And then when I wouldn't talk to him, he broke into my mom's fucking house so that he could try to talk to me because he knew I was there that day. And I'm like, on what planet is this okay? Like, and now he's texting me back and he's like, so we should get together because you haven't heard my side of the story and da-da-da. And I'm like, you won't talk your way out of this. I'm so sorry. This is done. You're clinically insane and it's not going to work.
We've talked about this ex on the show. And I believe you dated for two months.
Oh yeah. We dated for 2 and I tried to break up with him for 8.
Right. There is no side of the story, boo. The out of gas light was on miles ago. You just need to stop.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
There's no more. There's no more miles in this
There's
vehicle.
not, and that's the thing. When I say that there's an ebb and flow with this whole fucking quarantine, that's real. Like I went through like horrible dating in general, especially online, is fucking garbage anyway. But then you throw in a global pandemic and a quarantine where you're not allowed to talk to strangers. No, then I feel like I'm breaking the fucking law. Like I feel like I'm doing something wrong and I can't talk to a person. I can't tell anybody that I went on a date because then I'm gonna be like, ostracized from my friend because I went to try to just kiss a human. So it's just like, I feel like I'm doing everything wrong. I feel like single people in this world just can't fucking win. So why is Robert hates my fucking lights? Do you see that? I'm watching Twitch, by the way.
I did. I just responded because he was like, what? And I'm like, that's called sunlight.
I know, fucking Robert. Stop it, Robert. Why are you paying attention to that? I have interesting things to say. So what I mean is, it's just that I'm going through these ebb and flows. I'm dealing with the exes, but that has actually pushed me to, because as comedians, we always say it's, writing new material. That's the hardest part of this job. That's the hardest part. Okay, it's 100%. What we do a ton of networking. We do a ton of sending avails, a ton of getting booked, a ton of traveling. The job has so much more than just the time spent on stage. But when it comes to writing new material, it's the hardest because you have to use time on stage to hone that material. It's very, very simple. So when I'm quarantined with a 4-year-old, I can't write out these jokes and then ask my kid during commercial breaks of Power Rangers, is this dick joke funny? I can't do that. You know what I mean? So, he has a great sense of timing. It's absolutely incredible. But what I mean is writing new material is very hard because you can't hone it while you're here. Okay, so I recently co-headlined a show at Sally Tomatoes in Rohnert Park, and I tried a bit out that I have been working on for 4 years. Okay, now this is one of those bits where you want to talk about something that really happened to you, something that might get the audience into a sympathetic feeling, and then you don't know how to get them back into the comedy. And that's a really hard fence to cross. Okay, that's a hard line to walk down. And my bit is on me being a survivor of domestic violence. Okay, so you talk about this, and it's terrifying because now my entire heart and chest are wide open for you to just destroy. I don't know if you're going to like this. I don't know if I'm going to make you uncomfortable. But if going through this process, I realized how many women have been afflicted by this. And I really took it upon myself. I have to write this bit. I have to make this fucking real. I'm a fucking survivor, and I have the power of being on stage and a comedian and have a microphone to use this medium to talk to someone. And if I hit one person, if I let one person know that they're not by themselves, that they're strong as fuck, that they can get the fuck out, then I've done my job. That's it. I'm absolutely okay with that. So I did this bit, and I'm not even kidding. My friend recorded it, thank the fuck God, because I kind of blacked out when I did it, because I was petrified. I did this bit because I didn't know, I could tell the story, I could lead up to it. I gave all these setups, joke, real, kind of joke, and then I didn't know where to go. So I figured out where to go, and I finished the joke, and it ended with an applause break, and I got tears in my eyes, and I was like, and then at that point, I was like, I just wanted to get off stage. I told an old joke that I've known since like 1943, and I was like, I'm out, ah! Like I just ran off stage. So I think the reason that I'm telling you that now is because I have, in this quarantine, in this year, I have hit rock fucking bottom. I've hit absolute rock fucking bottom. I mean, suicidal thoughts, alcohol like crazy, blackouts, but I still have maintained and been okay for my kid because I need to be okay with my kid. And I need him to know that this is not the end of the fucking world. You know what I mean? I need to stay strong for him. But now my ebb and my flow is I am going so fucking high, and I'm on this thing where I'm like, no one can fucking touch me right now. I am writing new shit. I feel empowered as fuck. I feel like I could conquer the goddamn world, and I want to feel this feeling for the rest of my fucking life. So that's where I'm at now, and I'm riding this wave. And if anybody out there is feeling at all less than this feeling, just trust that it can come. Live in that shit. Live it out. Don't try to numb it out. Live in it. Go through it. It sucks ass, but you'll be stronger when you come out the other side.
Okay. I'm going.
What? Go. What do you have to say? Go.
I'm going to tempt this mood from you. I wrote a new joke, a cheesy joke, and then I had a fun observation at brunch today. I think you'll laugh at the second. I'm not sure about the first. Would you like to hear?
Oh, God. I mean, you've given me no choice. Go.
Okay, thank you. So a table the other day was like, hey, Suzette, where are you from? And I was like, Pittsburgh. And they were like, what brought you here? And I was like, well, I went with an X to New York, and then an X to LA, and then with an X up here. And then I was like, oh, so I guess tic-tac-toe, like 3 X's in a row. And then really quickly I was like, and all those X's and no O's along the way.
Very good.
Oh, thank you. Okay.
That's a good joke.
Thank you.
It's a good joke. Yeah.
And then the other one was at brunch today. Taryn, who you know and love, and I know and love, she did The Edge of 17 by Miley Cyrus with Stevie Nicks. And I was hosting, and so I got on the mic, and I was like, no. She's not on The Edge of 17. Like, The Edge of 17 was a long time ago for Taryn. Oh.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, not as funny as the joke.
No, I get it. I mean, I get it. Edge of 17. I mean, yes, exactly. I mean, you could say something like, you know, the edge of, you know, she was being born on 1917 or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, the Edge of 17 was a long time ago, is totally fine, but find a way to give it an actual, like,
Look, I'm just excited because you said earlier, like us comics, and you said us, and I'm here, so I count as the us.
Oh yeah, no, I was talking about me and Brittany, but I totally hear you. Yeah.
You know, I'm climbing.
I'm kidding. Jesus Christ, I didn't make fun of your wig, so I had to give you a little bit of shit.
Because you can't anymore.
But yeah. No, you look great. You look great.
Because Liz is in my life.
I've been talking a lot, so I'm gonna go. But and I'm out of champagne. I was doing mimosas today. So I had to keep that going. But yes, go talk to Brittany. She's great. She's absolutely good. She was just on my show, Who Wrote the Shit. By the way, watch Who Wrote the Shit every single Monday, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. Suzette, we have to get you back on that show because
I would love to.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It was really, really fun. So
I would love to be on. And Apple and I were just talking about how much fun it is today, especially the episode where for his life that guy could not say her name.
oh my gosh, he could not say Apple Adams. That was absolutely incredible. It was a different name every single time.
Every single time. And he was like,
hilarious.
okay, I've said it wrong every other
ridiculous.
time, so this time I'm going to go with Apple Adams. And we were
Oh
like,
my God.
you
It
guys
was
were like,
so
what
awful.
the fuck is wrong with
I
you,
was like,
sir?
Apple's one of the first words you learn, baby. Like, what? How? Okay, all right.
Yeah, all
But no,
phonetic.
it was very, very fun. And also, Jesse there at Stab, he helped me. We started producing Drawing a Blank, which is comedians playing Pictionary, and that's every single Wednesday at 9 p.m. Pacific. So
Every Wednesday.
So every single Wednesday. We don't
Every
have anything
Wednesday.
to do. Yeah,
Okay,
fuck it.
yeah.
We'll do a weekly
All right.
show. So
Drawing a Blank. So who wrote this shit? Mondays at 6 p.m. Pacific.
Yeah.
And that's, you go to the Instagram, there's a link tree. And then every Wednesday here at Stab Comedy Theater at 9 p.m., Drawing a Blank with Chelsea Bearce.
Yes, that's true. Great. Go. Have a good show.
I will.
love
Thank you. I love you too.
All right.
I miss you.
Miss you. Bye.
Bye. All right, everybody, peers and queers, that was Chelsea Bearce. Follow her, send her some coin, pandemic, blah, blah, blah. Stab Comedy Theater, bringing you content, send some coin. You're welcome. We're fabulous, and you should support. Okay, so with that, we're going to get to my interview guest, who Chelsea hard co-signed on. So you know it's going to be a good... Because when she was like, this person matches me with energy, she's dynamic, she's amazing, she's funny, you guys knew she wasn't talking about me. All right, so tonight's guest is a dynamic comedian from Miami who splits time between Miami and New York. While she's only 4'11", her resume is huge. I already like her because she's Italian and she talks with her hands. Please welcome to the show, comic and actress, Brittany Brave.
Hello.
How are
Ciao,
you?
ciao, ciao. Hello. I'm
Welcome.
Great.
Yeah?
Thank you for having me. Oh
Thank you
my
for being
God.
here. So I messaged you. This is so stupid that this happened today. It's kismet. A friend of mine was like,
Oh,
"Here,
yes, yeah.
have some hand-me-downs from my daughter," and I was like, "Okay, I don't know how that makes me feel. Skinny, I guess." And
Young, fresh.
and-
What do you,
right? Yeah, fresh. Can shop at the Target Kids section, save $10. And one of the shirt, it's going to be backward because I'm backwards on the screen. But one of the shirts, it says Brave, and I was like, oh, cool, because I'm interviewing Brittany Brave tonight. So yay.
A little bit of serendipity there. A little bit of serendipity.
Little bit.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with it. I didn't want to wear it because that would have been a little weird. But anyway,
No.
so your Instagram bio, tiny, often yelling,
Yeah.
not a stage
Yes.
name.
Yes. That is all three things are true about me. I have a Napoleon complex.
Oh, okay.
So I'm very small and I overcompensate with passion and volume. And I'm very glad that you did not doubt that you're one of the very few people I've ever met in my life that has not doubted that Brave is my last name. So thank you for that, because everyone's like, "It's not your real last name. It's not your real." And I get it. When you hear someone with the last name Brave, you're like superhero, porn star, and I'm like, no, I'm right in the middle. I'm a comedian, so you know.
Yeah, exactly.
I get it. But yes, Brave is my real last name, not a stage name. Here we are, baby.
But also, I don't know. Like, I just always assume people's names. I'm always like, really, when someone's like, oh, that's a stage name, their name isn't really that. I just always assume that. But my question about your last name is, you're Italian. That's not an Italian last name. So what are the Italian last names in your family?
Oh my gosh, I love this. So two paisans. I love it so much. We're sinking our teeth into our culture. I'm loving this.
Yes.
So I am second generation Italian. I'm actually very Italian, and it's a big bummer that my last name and nothing about me outside of the fact that I'm often greasy and very hairy would really give off that I'm Italian.
Mm-hmm.
But my mom and dad were born here. My grandparents onward are all from Italy. Brave is actually derivative of brava. So when my grandfather came here, changed brava to brave, obviously to assimilate, to fit in, to be more American. I'm also sure that when he got to this country, he probably looked around him at all the propaganda and the marketing, and he was like, these motherfuckers love the word brave here. Like,
Yeah.
He's like, at this point, it was between Brave or Brittany Bald Eagle, I'm pretty sure. So he did a good job. He did a good job moving into Brave, but Yeah, every other last name, by the way, in my family is Abate, Rinaldi, Scelsa. Like, it's all super, super Italian. And then you have my family. That's Italian, Americanized Italian. Applebee's Italian.
Have you? I would go with Olive Garden because that's also not Italian. I hate when my friends are like, "Do you like Italian?"
I
And
love
I'm
how they're like, "When you're here, you're family." I'm like, "When you're here, you're guilty." Really,
Yeah. I've eaten
Yeah.
one place in my life that I was like, "Oh, this is on par with my family's food." It was in Venice. At a restaurant
There you go.
in actual Venice, and I was like, "I will pay for this Italian food because this is as good as I can make it."
Right, exactly. Anywhere else, it's like you can't just get pasta anywhere. Like I feel like you go to like an Americanized chain and they have like the Italian section of the menu, and you're like, no, let's just leave it out. Like it's like my mother takes it as a personal insult every time we're there. So yeah,
We have an Italian restaurant here in Sacramento, and bless them. I mean, I'm sure they're doing their best, but they also have pad thai on the menu, and I'm like, okay, I see what you're doing. Like you're like noodles, but stop.
Yeah.
Like stop. You're not a drag queen restaurant. Don't be extra like that. Just do one
That's
thing
what
and
my
do it
mom-
well.
I couldn't agree with you more. My mom says that every time. We were just at some they opened up a Cheddar's here in suburban Miami, and my parents were like, let's go get a bite, and I was like, okay. And this menu was so all over the place, and I was like, Mom, there's no way, shape, or form they have a chicken club sandwich on the menu as like sausage, peppers, and onions. I was like the meal that's suffering there is the sausage, peppers, and onions. That's the one that's getting the short end of the stick. You know? Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
have you ever thought about going back to Brava?
I have.
Like professionally?
I probably thought more so about marrying Italian,
Oh,
and then just taking his name for personal reasons and then copping off of that. But no, yeah, I have it because you know what is interesting is like I bitch about it all the time, and a lot of people don't believe it's really my last name, and I understand it sounds cheesy as hell. But now that I am a performer and I am a comedian, I do see that it has some sort of zhuzh to it, and it does sound like a stage name, but it's not. So it's like it sounds fake, but it's actually the real Monty. So I've kind of now owned that a little bit. But yeah, I think my connection to my Italian culture, I think that if I were to change my name in that sense, it would just be trying to marry an Italian man, which I've been trying to do arguably for the last 5 years.
Oh, I was gonna say, is that part of like what you look for in dating? Are you like, oh, Italians first?
I'm not actively, but I just turned 30 and I have zero prospects, and I'm feeling the weight of my biological clock weighing down on the corners of my uterus. And Chelsea's saying no, but there's this little thing when you turn 30. I think we can talk about it a little bit. You know, there's a decade turning over. There's also, the absence of any kind of option or potential in my love life right now. So I will say that as I've gotten older and I've tried to like consider these things, I am more attracted to Italian men, and I do think it's like completely primal at this point. I think my body's just like, make little mozzarella sticks. Go.
Sure.
Like
I mean, relatable on the whole, like lonely and like wanting to have a kid.
God,
But I'm gonna agree with Chelsea, who just messaged in the group chat. 30, honey.
Yeah.
I'm 37. 30's
You look
young.
great.
Yeah. Wait, what now?
You look great.
Oh,
you
thank
look
you.
great.
Thank you.
You look great.
Thank you.
Everybody looks great. Clifton looks great. Chelsea looks great.
I could hear that all day about me. I mean, whatever about them, but I attribute it to the Italianness, actually.
I do too. I think we have good genes. I will say that.
We do. When I'm at brunch and people are like, "Oh, are you come across like you're 22?" I'm like, "I'm 37," and they're like, "You're not white," and I'm like, "Oh, I know." Right. That's when you figured it out.
It's all the oil and the garlic and the drinking and the guilt. It all just kind of combines together, and it makes us kind of eternal in the worst way. Yeah, it's good. Yeah.
Well, it's feeling the emotions and not harboring them, because when you do that, it dries out your skin.
That's so true. We feel everything, and whether we like it or not, it seeps through our pores.
Yeah, it's
So,
very clarifying. It's detoxifying.
It is. We have the Trevi fountain inside all of us. That's very true. Yes.
Wow, good reference. Everyone else is like, what now? A Trevor who?
Google it. It's beautiful.
Yeah, no,
good
it's a
luck.
very beautiful fountain, the Trevi fountain. Okay. So normally, my first question for my guest, I had to ask a question about the Italian last name. But normally, my first question for guests is, what have you been up to during the pandemic? But that's a weird question for you. So my question for you is, what haven't you been up to during the pandemic? Because, girl, you've been up to everything.
I've on a work front, I've kept very busy. Definitely the one thing I haven't been up to in the pandemic is finding love and getting laid. But, you know, I could pretend that it's a pandemic getting in the way of that, but it's not. It's my personality and the type of men that I like. So it's okay. We can't blame Corona for that one. So there's been a lot of good things on the work front and a lot of good things on the creative front. And the things that I haven't been up to in the pandemic are finding love, which I guess I could cut myself a little bit of slack. But yeah.
I think, I mean, you heard Chelsea's segment. Like, there's a lot going on. It's
hard out here.
It's not a good dating moment, the pandemic.
No, nobody knows what they want. Nobody knows where they're going. And I mean, as a straight woman into men, they never knew what they wanted or where they were going beforehand. And now they have a pandemic that they can rely on as an excuse. So it's all bad. That's just it. And then everything is kind of long distance, mostly virtual. Everything's up in the air. And we all have that excuse of Corona that we could just bow out of all of our engagements and all of our bullshit. And at least in a dating context, people are definitely doubling down on that. They're just like, well, I don't really know. Poof, bye, I'm gone. You know, so there we go.
Yeah. Dating is, I don't even try. I don't even, because it's like, what's the point right now?
I would love to hit fast forward and just land in a healthy relationship. I don't want to fuck around. I don't want to see. I don't want to go back and forth. I don't want to know what's going on or what's not going on. I don't want to be on. I don't want to be off. I'm over it. That's it. I'm over it. The one night stand thing doesn't do it for me. The just hooking up thing doesn't do it for me. I'm very over that. But also the in-between is where it's exhausting and where it's draining. So if there were some magic button somewhere, I'd pay money I don't have to just boom and fast forward into a stable, healthy relationship. So I agree with you. I'm at the point now where I'm just on the fence and I've kind of, for the most part, taken myself out of the game. I'm like, well, what's for me won't miss me, right? So I guess it'll just fall right into my lap.
I mean,
here we go.
Chelsea's clapping because that's an older girl thing. Like, we don't have time. I'm 37. I don't have time for any, like, look, yes or no. Is this forever? Like, please decide before you order salad. I just need 100%. To know because I don't have time. Because if you don't know, then what's the point? Why am I here? I can go home
and time is your most valuable currency. It always is, no matter what your age is. It's a little bit more as you're getting older, and it's definitely more as you're getting busier and you're hustling. So yeah, to your point, like, it's also like fucking insulting and disrespectful to waste someone's time. Sorry. Like, it takes no effort to be cognizant of the way that you affect other people and the way that you're affecting their time and their focus. So it's like, if someone's wasting mine, that is an insult. It's like, okay, you knew what you were doing all along and you just didn't give a shit, and I have to keep going now. Sorry. I'm on one today. I'm upset with 3 different men, so here we are. Yeah.
No, that's fine. I just need you to repeat that time is a consideration, so please consider other people's time for Chelsea's ex.
Consider other people's time. Everybody here, whether you realize it or not, you have an effect on other people. Everybody does. And when you can step into that power in a positive way, you can make real change happen. You can connect with people. You can help people heal. You can make incredible art. There's a multitude of ways that you can do that. You also can fuck up people's lives if you don't realize that you have an effect on people. That the things you say, the intent you put out there, and the things that you do, don't just go and fall into this fucking black pandemic, non-pandemic void. You can hurt people. You can waste their time. You can throw them off their course. So just take a second to be a little bit more careful with your own emotions, knowing what you want, and knowing what it is you're putting out there to other people. PSA. That's it. That's all I'm trying to say. So.
I'm sorry. I have to say that it means a lot to me to talk to another hand talker. Thank you.
I'm not. And I
know,
can't.
and I don't. I've become very homogenized, and I don't talk with my hands as much because people are like, "Why are you moving your hands so much?" But it's almost like when you're around someone with an accent, like your natural accent comes back, and so it's just like, "Oh yeah, no, that feels right. It feels right. I'm gonna do that too."
We're at home right now. If you told me right now, sit on your hands and continue the rest of this interview, I would physically implode. So
it's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard. Okay, question for you, just because we're on an Italian
Yes.
moment, not a written one. So Chelsea has Robbie. You know Robbie. He's on the show sometimes. He's also a co-producer for Who Wrote This Shit, and his husband is Italian, and he said, Suzette Veneti, I want you to guess what time at my Italian in-laws we had dinner on a Sunday. My answer was, which dinner? Thank you. Okay. Thank you. Because he didn't seem to get it. I was like, well, the first dinner or the second dinner, like.
What's dinner? Yeah,
Oh,
I don't
okay.
understand.
Okay, I
Yeah.
feel very validated. He's a
Yeah,
Jewish
especially
man.
on a Sunday. That's just a marathon of carb loading. That's
Yeah.
all. That's all that is in an Italian family. Yeah.
Yeah, bread, chicken, pasta, and then
Right.
repeat.
Now, I don't know if your family did this, but my family on Thanksgiving, we would do the traditional full-out Thanksgiving with a turkey and a ham and every side imaginable,
Yeah.
right? But we would also start the meal with pasta vazul,
Uh-huh.
a plate of penne with butter and cheese,
Mm-hmm.
and then antipasto. Like it's like that's it. Sometimes galamad too. So it was like even the Italians were like, we have to make this our own. And like halfway through the meal, my aunts would be yelling at everybody when they're like, "We're gonna be sick. I feel unwell." They would be like, "Keep going. This is insulting." Like It's like, you're like, I don't want to eat anymore, and they're like, you won't disrespect this table, and you're like, okay, Eat.
Yeah.
Yeah, manja. I have tremors when someone says manja. I start cold sweating. Like, it's not good.
Okay, one more. I mean, I'm sure it's going to come up a lot, but one
Yeah.
more unscripted Italian question. Everyone else watching is like, what are they talking about? I call it gravy. Do you call it gravy? No. No, that's the answer is no. The red sauce that my family makes, we call it gravy.
You do call it gravy?
We do. And when I say this, I think it might be a Sicilian thing. I'm not sure where my family got it. But when I say I'm having like gravy, people always think that I'm having like this brown gelatinous nonsense with pasta, and I'm like, no.
No, it's better than that, asshole. Yeah.
This is a delight that you'll never understand because you'll never get to taste. Because
This
I'm not gonna waste my time and cook it for you.
This is fragrant. Open your palate, asshole. Yeah.
Okay, so maybe that I know it's not just me, but
No,
okay.
it's not just you, but my family is split between Northern Italians and Southern and Sicilian, so I think it's a little bit of both. Some say red sauce, some say gravy, some say God knows what. So yeah, it's a little all over the place for us. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're from
Yeah.
all three parts.
Yeah, we're all over the place. Yeah, there's a
Okay.
civil war within this family. It's great.
Well, thank you for indulging me, and I don't know if we've had anyone so Italian on the show, so it's just a delight for me.
I love it so much. There's so much generational and cultural trauma with this culture. It seems like it's all fun, games, and wine and pasta with us, but it's really it's a lot. So I always love getting to talk shop about it with people.
I know we have because I've geeked out a couple times, but this is the 45th episode, and by far you're the most hand talky, so that's why it's all coming up.
That's my MO, baby. Here we are.
Thank you. I feel seen. Okay. So you've been so busy during the pandemic, not with dating. You have been thriving at Zoom comedy.
Yes. Yeah. It's been going very well. I've done a lot of stuff in the virtual space for sure. Yeah.
Okay, so you've done a lot of different stuff in the virtual space. I read that you won a nationwide online comedy competition from your childhood pink bedroom. Is that where you are right now?
This is where I am right now.
Okay.
I lost my virginity under these salmon hues. That's right. And these cheap tiki string lights from Walmart right here. I know everything in this room spells innocence and and intimacy. But yes, yeah, it's incredible, to have lost your virginity in this room and then come back 10, 15 years later. Who knows? Time is a spectrum. I don't know. And then win a virtual comedy competition. It was like a weird full circle. It was great. Yeah.
What's it like? So why? Okay, I mean this in a positive way.
Yeah.
Why are you so good at online comedy? I know I don't know how to ask that. Like, look, you're thriving. Brittany is thriving at online comedy, and like I don't hate it, but I don't love it. And I know that, Chelsea, you don't love it as much as being in person, but it's not for everybody. Not everybody's good at it.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely don't love it as much as in person, so I will say that. Nothing compares to in real life comedy, whether it's outdoor, indoor, on a roof.
Just
a
in real life,
club,
anything, I want to say.
Anything, yeah. I didn't expect to win that competition. I also am the kind of comic, I haven't signed up for a ton of festivals or competitions either, because I just kind of find stand-up to be cutthroat and competitive enough.
No, really?
And the competitions just seem, who cares, a little bit. But we were deep in a pandemic, and our only option was online comedy for a very long time, from at least like March to July, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
So it was IG Live and Zoom and StreamYard, and I just wanted to avoid getting rusty as much as possible. And yeah, I think part of being an artist or a creative is adapting. And I know there's a lot of comics who will no-go with Zoom or StreamYard, and they want, and listen, make your choices, live your life, find what's right for you. But every artist in any medium has had to adapt. If you look at the last 100, 200, whatever amount of years, right? From print to digital, from online to IRL, IRL to online, from in clubs, you could only ever do comedy in clubs. Now you can do comedy anywhere, right? So adaptation and flexibility has always kind of been like the name of the game.
Mm-hmm.
And I think for our generation, this was it, you know? Does it compare to indoor in-person comedy? No, right? But is it what people needed and all that was available to us at some point? So in order to be a good comedian and a good creative, you adapt, right? Like, you know, you make it work. Because at the end of the day, it has nothing to do with talent at that point. It's just figuring out how to put that talent and adapt it to a new medium.
Yeah.
That's what so it was. I would have never, I don't think any comedian would have dreamed of doing outdoor comedy or would have loved to have done Zoom comedy or thought of it as their own original idea. But we all had to adapt, and we couldn't let a pandemic just completely squash our industry. So if this was the only way to bring laughter and the only way to not get rusty, and the only way to stay current, then you make it work. You figure out how to do it. So yeah, in an effort to not stay like restless and go crazy, I just did all the virtual comedy possible, including that competition. And I entered that competition with the intent of just like, let me see where this goes. And I just want to get up, quote unquote, every night and keep trying material. And then it worked out and ended up being really fun. So yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, you touched on something that's a theme that we talk about on the show. Like I said, 45 episodes. So some things last from last April on the show to now. And that's if you're an artist of any kind, drag, comedy, whatever, and you're like, no, I'm just going to wait until things go back to the way they were, then you don't really want to be an artist, because you're going to figure out how to do something, even if like I do this show. Like, is it stand up? No. But at least I'm figuring a way out to still do something creative. I don't know. Not that I'm the bar.
Well, it's the same way if you think about it as a comedian pre-pandemic, where you would have club shows in really great rooms, right? And then you would have bar shows where people are drunk and they're screaming at you. So the difference here is the medium, right?
Right.
And we would say yes to both of those experiences. If we got a club spot on a sold out show, we would say absolutely, whether it was 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and we would make the best of it. If we got a 10-minute spot on a drunken bar show, we would say absolutely, right? And we never really considered the medium before then. We just said it's an opportunity for me to hone my craft, get fans, make people laugh, do what I love, so on and so forth, right? And then suddenly I think there was a portion of our comedian community that got weird about phone comedy and laptop comedy. And I was like, it's really no different if you think about it. It's the exact same way you would read a room in a bar, in a park show, on a roof, in a club. You know, you're just adapting to what the circumstances are. And I agree with you. I mean, nothing is ever going to compare to hot-blooded comedy, having human beings in front of you and feeding off of them in that moment. But you know, the beauty of virtual comedy is you can meet people in South Africa and London and Canada and God, you know, anywhere, and be able to make them laugh now. Whereas beforehand, you'd be like, well, I'll try to raise the funds to get to go tour to you and visit you. You know,
Yeah. No, that's absolutely. I think the problem that I've noticed is when people don't adjust for the medium. When they're like, no, this worked live, I'm going to do the same exact thing digital. It's like, no, you can't. It's a different medium. You can't paint the same with, I don't actually paint, so I don't know if what I'm going to say is making it make sense. You can't paint the same with watercolors that you would with crayons.
Yeah, I know. I completely understand what you're saying, and I completely agree. Yeah, and I think there's a lot of that in comedy too, especially from the 70s and 80s. Now till today, that industry, our industry in particular, is very like, well, there's an old school way of doing it, and I've been in the game for a while, and this is and I'm imitating my father now, obviously. No, I'm kidding. But there's a very like, let me tell you, and this is how it should be done, and blah blah blah, and it's like, well, no, that's how it should have been done 20 years ago when you were doing it, but. There's been decades, man, since then, and people consume content differently, so. I don't know. I just think that the job of an artist is to be able to provide however, wherever, on any medium and make it work. So
agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah.
So that being said, what aspects are similar with Zoom comedy to in real life comedy?
Zoom comedy is really, it's a really good exercise in timing, I would say. Timing and delivery. I think it's a common thing that whenever comics feel like they're bombing, we've all been there, and we feel like things aren't going well, we tend to speed up and rush through our act and kind of lose control of our stage presence and our material. And I think Zoom is really good for that. So if you go in knowing, okay, some people might be on mute, some people's Wi-Fi might be bad, some people might be cooking while they're watching the show. This is not a traditional performance setting. And you can kind of separate yourself from the audience reaction. You can really use it as an exercise in like timing and delivery. I will say, I and a couple of my really close friends in New York comedy, like we all feel like we became better writers through virtual comedy too, because it really comes down to the material. At the end of the day, if it's not funny, it's not going to land. If it's a really good joke, you could be screaming into your computer screen, and even if somebody's not paying attention, it will make them stop and pay attention because something funny just hit them. So you become really material heavy with that. And I think confidence too, that's part of being, this is not easy. Stand-up is torture. It's beautiful torture. And we all love it every day, but it beats us up every day. And there's some sick, twisted pleasure we get in it and being able to get up again the next day. And Zoom comedy really put us to the test of like, okay, so maybe, you can't actually feed off of people's praise or people's laughter. You actually have to lean on yourself and lean on your own messaging and your own material and just trust that it's going to get communicated. And it's maybe not about the medium and all the extra bullshit at the end of the day. It's just about like, I believe in this so much, I'm going to just say it right now. So I do feel like if you can do Zoom comedy or virtual comedy and get through it and feel okay and still hold yourself together, you can kind of handle a bomb in person now, because you're kind of like, okay. Well, I'm used to people not laughing. I'm used to this being awkward, yeah.
I think depending on where you are, I'm not sure if you can't handle a bomb, maybe you shouldn't be in comedy.
That too. Yeah. Yeah. Right. Yeah, you start to love the bomb after a while because you start to become so attached to what it is that you're making that you actually appreciate the bomb. You're like, thank you. Thanks for letting me know it doesn't work. Now I know I'm one step closer. And there's a weird masochism to it. When you bomb, you feel like, oh, I'm a comic now. You do. Like, I'm a comic. Yeah. This is it. This is the beating that I just took tonight that like everybody takes. This is how this feels, okay? And if I really love it, then I know I'll show up for it again tomorrow. Yeah.
I hate waiting for it. I hate being like, oh, it's coming. Yeah, it hasn't happened in a minute. It's gonna happen soon. Yeah,
it usually comes after a bunch of successful shows too, from what I've noticed. You have a nice little good run, and then you're like, it's coming. It's coming. When I get knocked down a peg or two. Yeah.
Yeah. What do you like about it, about Zoom comedy? You kind of already answered, but is there anything you haven't already said?
I think the ability to reach people you wouldn't normally reach is nice. In the very early stages of quarantine, not really now, I'll be honest, not as much now, but this time last year, like I would say March through May, when people were in true lockdown and really didn't have any source of an outlet or release, they were really giving their undivided attention to these virtual comedy shows on IG Live or StreamYard or whatever. And that was really nice. That was like a level of attention you wouldn't get sometimes in a normal comedy setting. So, but yeah, I just think it's another way. If you're addicted to making people laugh and addicted to making comedy, like it's just another way to do it now. And it's kind of cool that it's never going to go away, I think. Like you'll always have it. Even if you're like, I don't feel like going out tonight and schlepping to a comedy club or an open mic. I don't think this is going away. You can just log on to Clubhouse or Zoom or whatever and be like, I could still technically do comedy tonight and make people laugh, you know, from my home. So
Absolutely. Also, surprised that you just used the Yiddish term. Right on.
Schlep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I love schlepping. I love every time I'm in New York. I consider my whole life up there a big schlep.
Oh,
yeah.
okay. Schlep away.
Schlep.
So, do you think? I'm gonna mash these questions together. Is Zoom comedy something you want to keep doing post pandemic? Do you think there will be a market for it?
Yes and yes. Yeah, I don't think it's going away, for sure, and I don't see any reason not to continue doing it. I've actually found I run a show called Improvised Tarot, and it's super interactive. Chelsea's done it. She was great on it. Comedians bullshit tarot readings for audience members, and these audience members come on and just spill their whole lives and problems, and then the comedians kind of provide some comic relief, and a psychic provides some clarity. And so this is one example of a show that's really thrived virtually. Like it does really well virtually. And I would have never considered transferring it over. And now I'm not sure I'm going to do it in person all that much. I think it does really well on an app or on Zoom, you know? Listen, I'll be the first to tell you, like, I mean, if I get a physical show offered to me here in Miami, I take it because it feels silly to not do real stage time, you know? And that'll always take precedence over sitting in front of my computer screen. But I also, again, it's just about growing, getting better, getting funnier, connecting with people, making them laugh. And if that's your option to do so when you're presented with that option, I've never understood that whenever comedians say no to opportunities. Unless it's really out of their way or it really isn't a good fit or it obviously puts them in some kind of weird predicament. Obviously those extraneous situations. But I'm like, you gotta say yes to everything. Especially in the beginning. You have to just love it so much that you're like, yes, yeah, I'll tell jokes on the subway. Yes, I'll tell jokes on Zoom. Yeah, in a park. Absolutely. You know, it's just because it's bigger than you at that point.
Absolutely. I think you made me think about it. I never really have thought about it, but I guess if it came down to it, it would be if you were offered a real live show and a Zoom show, say a year from now when everything's, you know, proceeding in a more normal world, it probably would come down to like, I don't know what your, you know, how you decide to take which show over another, but like which one's a better opportunity.
I always try to do everything, for better or for worse. I'm not saying that's a good thing. That's not always a good thing. But I always try to juggle as much as I can. I feel weird saying no to things, especially if I know it's just on the surface a good opportunity and it's going to be fun. Then why not? I also I try not to have an ego in this because I think the second you have an ego in comedy hands it right back to you and knocks you down pretty quickly. So I always try to juggle. But if it comes down to where I'm really in a time constraint and it's between a live show and a virtual show, I will probably choose a live show. Just because I think if the pandemic and quarantine has taught us anything is that people really do need each other. Like we really do. All we bitched about before the pandemic was people suck. I hate people. I love canceling plans. I don't want to be around anybody. Like it was like a running joke. We all did it. Like leave me alone. I don't feel like talking. I'm antisocial. I cancel plans. I love it. Blah, blah, blah. And then we actually had that option taken away from us for a really long time. And we all were actually in lockdown and by ourselves. And we were like, oh, shit. I actually really need people.
Yeah. I can confirm.
I'm lonely and sad.
I can confirm hosting a drag brunch every Sunday, 2 shows a day. Like people want people. They want to be out with people.
Yeah.
Like it's socializing, Because early on in the pandemic, I heard people say like, "Oh, you know what? Zoom comedy is going to replace live comedy," and I was like, "You're crazy."
Nah.
Never. Maybe it'll find like your improvised tarot card show. Which, thank you, by the way. Chelsea has been on here and talked about it. I didn't know it was your show. So how awesome! What a good explanation! What a good show idea. So you started that in real life and then transferred it over.
Yep.
Okay.
We've been running it since 2019. 2019? Maybe 2018. That sounds right. 2018, 2019. And we did it in person and it was great. And it's always been like a floating show. It's a really fun thing for birthday parties, bachelorette parties, all that kind of stuff, happy hours and stuff. And then obviously it was forced to transfer over virtually in the pandemic, but honestly for the better. Like I think it's going to primarily stay there as like a live podcast.
Yeah, situation. I mean, I think some things, like we were saying, like you adjust for the medium, and sometimes you have something that already exists, and you find, oh, this is a better medium for it. I didn't know that this was, but now it's here, and I see, okay, cool. Let's let that be there.
Yeah. It's always the beauty of big change, right? Like after a big breakup or a big cataclysmic shift or whatever. Now I'm getting deep. I've had some whiskey and I'm sad today. So here, sorry, I can't. I can't.
No, go.
I'm ovulating. There's a lot of things at play here. But it's about the big changes really, really hurt. But I have to be honest. The biggest changes in my life that were the most painful. Always on the other side. I was like, thank God that went down how it did. Actually, and maybe that's mind over matter too, because now you're forced to deal with your circumstances. But you grow. Yeah, I don't know. You grow. So I think that's one example.
I think it's a good example. So what, live comedy, did I read right that you've only been doing it for 4 years?
So I have done improv and sketch since middle school, which I guess at this point is almost 18 years, I guess. So I acted in plays in elementary school, and I did improv in middle school, improv and sketch in high school, all of that stuff. I never actually touched stand-up until 2.5 years ago. Oh, wow. And I never actually started fully pursuing stand-up until 2.5, 3 years ago. And comedy as well, too. So it was very interesting to me because I always looked at stand-up as this weird... And I was always in comedy. I always acted and did improv and sketch, but stand-up felt super foreign. It felt like something I was like, oh, there's comedy and then there's stand-up. And those people do that. And it just I never identified with it. I didn't think it was like a real job. It was so weird, especially as someone in the comedy community. But like 2.5, 3 years ago, when I decided to start, I was like, I think I want to do acting and comedy full time. I also started doing stand-up, and then accidentally found the love of my life, stand up. So there we go. So, well,
I'm a little bit mad. 2.5 years and you're this good.
Thank you.
Seems unfair, but good for you.
I'm obsessive. I have no love life. I'm very sad. Try it out sometime. Anyway, I'm just kidding.
Welcome to 2021. No one does. So you're just ahead. You're ahead of the curve.
True. I'm a trendsetter, if you will.
A little bit. So you found the love of your life, stand-up comedy. What do you like / love about it?
It's so honest. It just forces everybody in the equation to be really honest with themselves. So that goes for the comedian and the audience. I think in order to make really good comedy, you have to be brutally honest with yourself and others in the human experience. And then the reason why you become really good at it is because you are the person who's willing to say the things that everybody else is thinking. And you kind of force an audience, even if it means they get a little uncomfortable, now they have to be honest with themselves and think about, why did that make me laugh? Why did that resonate? Why is that true to me? Do I do that? Am I like that? So you can't cheat the honesty in stand-up. An audience is going to be able to tell immediately when you're full of shit or a bit is made up or you don't believe in it or anything. They're also going to be able to tell when your heart isn't in that art form, I think, more than anything else. So the journey of starting stand-up has forced me tenfold to learn about myself, love myself, challenge myself, also be real with myself, on the worst nights too, being really honest about your performance and where you're at. So I really love that I've chosen a career path that forces me into like ultimate self-discovery. It sounds cheesy, it sounds stupid, but it's like true. It's like every day it forces you to pay more attention to the world around you and yourself, because that's like kind of your job as a comedian.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think
Yeah.
if you don't love what you're doing for your career, maybe you shouldn't do it. So
Right.
I think
Right.
you're, again, ahead of the curve there, and people could stand to try that out. What do you hate about stand-up comedy? Now, if this is the love of your life, surely you hate something about it as well.
It's like a good marriage, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
A good Italian marriage, anyway.
A good Italian marriage has a good amount of animosity in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a thin line between love and hate, and it's easy to go on either side.
Italians fight as well as they love. Truly.
Yes.
Yeah. You get it.
I do.
What do I hate about stand-up comedy? Sometimes I hate the inherent nature of it is it's tough. I'm not saying your job as an accountant isn't tough. I'm not saying your job as a sales rep isn't tough. And I'm also excluding jobs like nurse and doctor and essential work like that. Obviously, that's taken out of it,
Sure.
But if this is your job as a stand-up comic and you do badly, you feel it immediately and you feel it without reserve. And unfortunately, because it's so personal to you and it's a creative endeavor, it feels like an existential crisis. It feels like you don't know yourself anymore, or the one thing that you thought you were good at, you're suddenly not, right? And for a lot of us that enter stand-up, I do believe that the reason why we get into this art form is because of maybe some trauma, some pain, or we never really fully felt accepted, or we saw the world a little differently. We felt a little weird, like all of these things. I do believe that to some extent. I think that's a calling to the arts and stand-up specifically. And the one thing you cling to this entire time is that you're funny. That no matter what, no matter if a boy calls you ugly or you get rejected or someone thinks you're this or someone thinks you're too much that or too little that, your superpower is that you're funny. And unfortunately with this, it's brutal. You can be very funny and have a room hate you. You can be very funny and have a bad set. And I think unlike a traditional day on a 9 to 5, you don't feel it as immediately with that at a marketing agency. You just kind of chalk it up as like, I was tired today. I don't know. I was like off my game. And unfortunately with stand-up, you feel it immediately. It's really public. It's really in your face. And then it can like very easily make you question everything you've ever believed about yourself. So it's a fine line. And then, too, our industry is toxic. It's getting better. It's the leaves are turning over a little bit now, and it's becoming a lot more diverse and a lot more inclusive than it's ever been. But there's still a good amount of bullshit. There's still a good amount. And unfortunately, in order to continue doing this and try to make a living off of it, there's a lot of it in your first couple of years of you just biting your tongue until it bleeds and just being like, well, I guess these are the rules I have to play by right now, or this is the shit I have to put up with, and just trusting that if I work hard enough and get better, I won't have to deal with this shit soon enough. So
Strong relate to the whole have a bad set, question everything about your life.
all the time.
Been there a lot. Like, what am I doing with my life? That was terrible. One bad 5 minutes, and it's worse than, and it brings down everything else.
Yep, you could have 10 great sets in a row. You have one bad 5 minutes. And that's part of what makes you a comic and a good performer, is that attention to detail, that obsession, that perfectionism, that constantly trying to hone and whatever. It is what makes you a better writer and comic, but it is also debilitating because they could be like, you had 4 shows tonight, you killed 3 of them, so one of them didn't go well. And that is the one you're going to focus on. And that is the one you're going to learn from. And that is the one you're going to obsess about. But yeah, there's no way nobody understands it. I think it's a lot easier to have a bad day on an office job. I had an office job. I used to work in corporate marketing, and it's not your baby. It's not your thing. So if you have a bad job, who gives a shit? Like, you just a bad day, you're like, okay, whatever. I'm still on the payroll. I have to have a lot of bad days before I get fired. And you just go home and shrug it off. And then this is so much more like I give a shit. It's me. It's personal. Oh God, nobody liked me. Nobody resonated. Oh shit. You know, it's like it's gonna hit. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I
Yeah.
agree. And I think what's interesting is if I was thinking about this because certainly I'm a performer like you. So to me, I get everything. But I was thinking about someone that has an office job and how they might be like, well, you know, like you were saying, like certainly their job is hard and it, you know, it's different. But what's funny to me is if you're not a performer and you don't like talking in front of people, just one minute of doing that would be, what's the word I want to use? Exhausting and terrifying.
Yeah.
So it's fine to say like, oh no, it's like for those people to say like, no, you know, like whatever, my job is just as hard. Sure. Do you want to trade? Because you wouldn't like this even a minute in. So.
No. That's so true.
Because most people,
so true.
the biggest fear is the fear of public speaking, right? So like,
Right.
people don't want to do this from the start, let alone fail or succeed. They just don't want to even attempt. Now, I find myself to be the same way with real office jobs. I don't even want to attempt. But that's why I do what I do.
Right. No, I'm with you. Yeah. That's so interesting too, because it's those same people that would say that what it is that we do isn't real. Or that, oh, it's easy, or it's an artist, and artists are whatever. I'm like, that's so funny because you say that your number one fear is public speaking. So like how you said, I dare you to try doing what I do for 1 minute.
Yeah. I hate working in an office job and I don't want to try, but I could do it for a minute.
Right. Exactly. Like we've all done it as temp jobs and stuff. Like I'm like, you couldn't get through a minute of what I do. I could fake it for 7 hours to do what you do. Like if I really needed to, I could get through a day of it. Yeah.
Okay, a day.
Yeah.
I thought we were gonna go longer than a day, and I was like, no, I couldn't.
Yeah. Right.
No.
Yeah, but I also wanted to say like it's just as an artist and as anybody who's putting themselves out there, like I just noticed there's so much judgment from people who like wouldn't even dare to step in the arena or even try it themselves. And you know, I think it just goes back to like human nature too. It's so easy for people to judge other people's experiences from the outside looking in and not knowing what it's, you know, it's so easy to look at a comedian and be like, I could do that, it's not a real job. Or in any setting, it's always so easy when it doesn't affect you to look at someone's situation and be like, well, I would have handled that differently. Well, I don't understand why they're doing that or whatever. So it's always so easy when you're not in the line of fire. And, you know, it takes a lot of strength and fortitude to be able to like understand other people's experiences and struggles. Be like, that's not relevant to me. I'm a 9-to-5 accountant, but I have so much respect for what you do as a stand-up comedian. Like that takes a lot. Or I've never been through that personally, but I can take a second and put myself in your shoes and empathize, and I can only imagine what that must feel like, you know? So.
Yeah, no, Brittany, I relate to everything you're saying, just except for the part that you said comedy can be cutthroat and dramatic. I've never experienced. No, I'm kidding.
It's always been happy-go-lucky. Yeah.
I like to tell people. Yeah. People are like, "Oh, what's it like? How dramatic is the drag scene?" And I'm like, way less so than the comedy scene. It's like way less dramatic than the comedy scene. Like they create drama for no reason on the comedy scene. So
yeah, it's like dodging toxicity a lot of the time, and yeah, it's hard. Yeah. It's hard. It's a very solo endeavor too. I mean, I guess I would think drag would be too, but yeah, for some reason comedy is it's a little bit darker, and it's like such a solo endeavor, and then it becomes so competitive and so cutthroat and so everything, and then before you know it, it's like we just can't gas each other up. Like if somebody else is funny, we treat it as a deficit to our funny.
Yeah, I think it's called I have a friend who does comedy. I mean, I have I don't. I have a couple friends that do comedy, and then I know a lot of people. But he what did he call it? He called it crabs in the barrel, where if someone's getting out, then the other, like if one crab's getting out, the other crabs pull them back down. And
Yeah.
that's kind of comedy. Like, we can't just support each other and be happy for each other, which is crazy. And I think for me at least, this is certainly not every drag performer, but for me at least, I have a wonderful drag family, and they certainly support and promote and help and mentor and teach, and every good verb. I'm just listing good verbs. But every good verb, they're there for me, and they want me to succeed. And that's the difference, is I don't have a comedy family, and I know some comedians that support me and love me, but it's not quite the same as a drag family.
Yeah.
So I think at least that's the difference for me personally. But I can't speak for everyone, of course.
Yeah, it's hard to find that. I think I found that in pockets in comedy in Miami and New York, for sure. People that genuinely have my back, and, vice versa. But it's very hard. And then there's sometimes people that I've thought that have had my back, and then surprise, not exactly, what the scenario was. Yeah. But again, I think it takes a lot of internal confidence and security to be able to truly have somebody else's back.
Yeah.
To be able to truly compliment somebody else's talent and really pay it forward and really support somebody else's endeavor. Because think of yourself on your lowest days. I have, everybody has them. Like, on my lowest days, when I'm really not feeling well about myself or taking care of myself, or I'm really having bad thoughts, like, yeah, it's hard for me. If I see somebody else have good news, it's hard to feel. That's human. That's hard to feel genuine happiness for them and stuff. So the people who are able to keep themselves going while also gassing other people up are probably doing a lot of inner work and really believe in their art and are confident in what it is that they're doing. Because that's not easy, especially in either of our fields, drag or comedy, to like get up every day and show up for your art and then feel so good about it, no matter how it's received, that you can still kind of like bolster other people too. That's hard.
Well, and that's similar to how I describe like a drag mom. A drag mom doesn't want you to succeed for them. They don't want you to succeed for what you could do for them or what you might do for them or any, it's just a person who sees what you see in your head, or they believe that you see something in your head, and they just want to see you actualize it. And for no other reason than they care about you and they believe in you. Like, it's completely a selfless, I mean, I'm sure sometimes it's selfish, but in my experience, it's a completely selfless thing. And I wish that existed more in comedy, honestly.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that is a super beautiful thing. And that's true mentorship too, to have somebody who's like sees a vision that you have for yourself and can like draw it out of you and help you actualize it. Like, that's true support. Right? Yeah. That goes beyond Instagram likes and compliments and all that other superficial stuff. It really comes down to like, that's somebody who can really show up for you and your vision. Yeah.
So a question on Twitch, hybrid shows. I'm going to transition back towards Zoom/live comedy for a second. I believe that there, like, stage plus streaming, I believe there's a space for that depending on the show. I think, like we were talking about, some shows are going to fit a streaming medium better. Some shows are going to fit a in real life medium better, and some shows will probably be able to have a streaming audience with a live audience.
Yeah, I don't see why not. If you're able to pull that off and you're able, as long as it doesn't sacrifice what's going on in person.
Right.
Or that you can maintain the virtual quality, then I think that is another thing. Yeah, that's super beneficial. It adds another layer as a producer for sure. But yeah, now it is. I mean, that's something that the benefits of virtual comedy is that you could be throwing a comedy show in your home market, and the way your family or whoever would always be like, how I wish I could attend. Now they can, and as an artist, if you're present on all those things, that's another revenue stream for you too, because now you're making money from physical ticket sales, and then you're making money from digital ticket sales. So it all kind of comes together. Yeah.
You had me in the feels, because you said when people say, "Oh, I wish I could attend," like, well, now we can really find out. Here's a link.
Oh yeah, you'll find out real quick.
Yeah. Do you really wish you could attend?
I'm not gonna get into it. I'll get into it offline. But yeah, a lot of people very close to you, at least in blood or relation, are like, I always wish I could see you. And now they have all the opportunities to, and you're like, well,
Yeah,
here you go.
were you there?
Yeah.
Yeah. What is the most interesting venue you've performed in person?
Interesting. I have a couple. I mean, I recently got to perform for the troops, the U.S. military. It was a very serendipitous
Right on.
opportunity. Yeah, they were being deployed out in Fort Lauderdale. Was it Fort Lauderdale? Fort Lauderdale, yeah, South Florida. To Afghanistan the next day, and it was like their send-off party. So that was really cool to perform on a military base. That was interesting and very unexpected and very cool. What else? I've been able to perform. I don't know. I mean, New York has a slew of venues that are really cool. I performed on rooftops in New York, also in basements, like on like that you would usually see on Law and Order or SVU. But
Oh, yeah.
surprise, it's a great hidden barbershops and stuff that are like half bar, half barbershop and stuff. And due to the pandemic, I performed right on the beach down here in South Florida, beach comedy, which has been really cool.
Yeah, in South
It all
Florida,
happened-
that sounds really cool. Everywhere else,
was-
not as cool.
Yeah, it was really cool. Yeah, a beach comedy. Literally just pop up with a microphone and a PA and people sitting on blankets and drinking, and that was great. So, yeah, you can, and it's never the same depending on the medium and the venue, but you can adapt for sure. Yeah.
Would you say that the most interesting experience that comedy has given you is one of the ones you just mentioned, or is it another experience?
I don't know if it's necessarily, I mean, those are super special. I mean, I think comedy has like introduced me to people and venues and things that I maybe wouldn't have otherwise. I don't know when I would ever have, done these kind of things and been presented with these opportunities. I will say that comedy has, in the most beautiful way, and both sides of this, given me the most beautiful, highest moments of my life and the lowest moments of my life at the same time. Like I always joke, I'm like the hang after a comedy show was the best of times and it was the worst of times.
Oh, the circle, the comic circle.
Right, like,
yeah.
so my highest nights and my best and most beautiful nights that I felt like the most connected to human beings and the human experience have been through comedy, and my most sobering nights have also been through comedy as well too. So because no two nights are the same and no two rooms are the same, so you really quickly get a feel for how everybody lives, no matter how you look or identify or what your background is or whatever. Part of this is like part of being a comedian is like one big research project, and it really helps you open your eyes and your senses to like how things resonate to other people, what things mean to people, how your comedy comes off, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's always a wild. It also kind of gets blurred together a little bit. So sometimes it's like to pick one. It's a great question, but sometimes you're like, what is the one? You're like, I don't know. It ranges from like doing comedy in a laundromat to on the beach to a big theater, and it's like it's all. Sometimes the rooms you think will be great are bad. Sometimes the rooms you think will be bad are beautiful, and yeah.
So you need the scope narrowed. It's too broad a question. That's fair. That's because
It's like
different,
and it's all
interesting in
beautiful and
different
unique
ways.
in its own way, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
So you mentioned, and I don't want to take a side. I'm going to try really carefully to walk down the middle of this. You mentioned you started with sketch and improv, and now you do stand-up. There is a centuries-old war between sketch improv performers and stand-up performers, and you've done both, and you did sketch improv longer, and now you do stand-up. And I don't know what you're better. I don't know what you consider yourself better at, but you certainly are doing fine for yourself in stand-up. Do you want to like settle the debate or take a side?
No.
Okay.
I don't, because they have all contributed to me being a comedian. And to me, a comedian is able to produce comedy. We're all going to find our niche. We're all going to find our voice. And there's so many ways to be funny right now. And it's not even limited to improv, sketch, and stand-up. You could be funny in drag. You could be a funny character actor. You could be a funny talk show host. Maybe you're really funny and great at podcasts and hosting. You know, maybe you're funny at multiple things. Like you're an incredible host, incredible drag performer, incredible comedian. Like it's like, so we all have these different strengths.
I got lost for a second. Were you talking about me, or you're just saying hypothetically? Because that's fine. It's fine if you want to talk about. Oh, thank you.
I was talking about you specifically. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, I could listen to that all day. Keep going.
I know. I was talking about you.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's hard for me to choose between the two. I cut my teeth with improv and sketch. It was the first ways that I fell in love with comedy. And I don't like when stand-up shit on it. I don't like that. And they're like, it's not real comedy. And I'm like, if you really want to be a comedian and you want to be fully proficient in the craft and you want to be able to make somebody laugh no matter the medium or the circumstances or anything, even if it doesn't end up being your thing and your preferred lane, you should try it. You should give it a shot. And at the very least, you should respect it. You know, country doesn't look at rap music and say, fuck you, rap music. And rap doesn't look at rock and says, well, rock isn't rap. They all respect each other. In fact, they cross-pollinate and they collaborate and they borrow things from each other. But for some reason with comedy, it gets a little bit more possessive and territorial.
It reminds me of how I like to describe, sometimes people, because I have a 6-inch stiletto in both worlds, sometimes people don't understand what stand-up is, and conversely, sometimes people don't understand what drag is. And so I try to explain they're both umbrella terms. And comedy itself is an umbrella term that probably encompasses both of those, if that's what your drag is, because drag certainly doesn't have to be comedic, but not all comedy is stand-up. Not all stand-up is the same. You can have different types of stand-up. Not all drag is lip sync. Certainly that is the most known medium for performing in drag, but it's not the only one. So I think you're right. I think it's good to understand all the different lanes or mediums, to go back to that word, underneath the umbrella term, and maybe don't hate them. Maybe just realize that you're not good at that one, and you found one that you're good at, or one that you wish you were good at. And I mean, we're asking a lot of people to identify something you're good at and you're not, and that's why you hate it. That's a lot of self-growth. So I don't know if people are there, but that's what I would say would be helpful.
I completely agree.
Oh,
I completely agree. And I mean, you can even still be good at something and it might not be your thing. And, you know, and that's okay to try things just for the sense of skill. Like, I would recommend that all comedians do an improv class. I recommend a lot of people everybody take an improv class. Like, I think, why not? Like, it's such a great way to get comfortable in your skin and get good at working on your own and working in a team and stuff. And it is comedy at the end of the day. It's like how you said, it's all an umbrella term. And it's just about finding the lane and the space in which you are the most comfortable in producing it. And it doesn't mean you need to shit on the other ones. It just means you can find your lane and sink your teeth into that. So yeah, I can't comfortably, I mean, I have fallen in love with stand-up in a way I never expected, and I will never not do stand-up. I think my improv days are behind me. I've done a shit ton of improv. I don't think there's a lot left for me to learn. That sounds douchey. I don't mean it that way. I just think I've done a lot of it at this point.
If I may, I think maybe you're saying there's not a lot left for you to learn that you want to learn. Certainly you can always learn more, but now your focus and your heart is with stand-up, and so you want to learn all you can there.
Yep. Out of all the forms of comedy, that's the one I'm technically the least experienced in. And as much as improv and sketch set me up for it, it is also its own beast. Yeah. Joke writing and timing and crowd work and all of these different things. So my time currently is better dedicated to that and zeroing in on that and getting better at that particular way of making people laugh. And I can always revisit improv and sketch too, but I think it's a higher appreciation. They're all just different genres of things. And, you know, part of being an artist too is not hating something because you're not good at it, you know?
Yeah, I think that's part of being an adult too, a mature person.
Not hating something because it doesn't come easily. Yeah.
So sometimes I have something to share with the interview guests that would be boring for the audience. So if I remember, we can talk more about this off screen because I don't want to bore the audience with my stories and words but I have stuff that like we can have tea.
Oh, we'll
over.
gab. Yeah, we'll
okay.
have a whole thing.
Okay. We'll nosh. Because we're using Yiddish. Okay. Let's see. Where was I? Oh, okay. I want to shift gears a little bit, and actually Chelsea gave us a good lead-in. Sometimes on this show, we do talk about more serious issues, and Chelsea even kind of touched on those: depression, suicidal ideations, real things that people experience and feel, which I think is good because oftentimes when a person that makes other people laugh talks about experiencing suicidal ideations, depression, domestic violence, people are like, but how? How can you experience those things? You make me laugh. And it's like, well, because I'm a real person, and that doesn't mean that it takes away my ability to make others laugh. Maybe this is how I get through it. I'm going to stop talking because I don't want to step on your toes, only because we talked about this earlier and you're okay with me asking you questions about it. Do I want to ask you about being a domestic violence survivor?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I didn't know that about Chelsea, but that's another way that she and I bond.
I'm sorry to hear that.
We have in common. Yes, I was in a very abusive relationship for about 3.5 years. Physical abuse, as well as verbal and emotional and mental. And the relationship culminated and ended in court and assault charges and restraining orders and a lot of heavy stuff like that. And I've since become a pretty open advocate for people who are involved in domestic violence, more specifically intimate partner violence, and wanting to try and break the stigma around that, around talking about it, around getting out of it, around all of those subsequent things. Yeah, and it was at the tail end of that relationship that I started stand up specifically as well too. It was, yeah, I was talking about this relationship to people in my life, and it was beautifully dark and hilarious and painful for them to hear. And they were like, we feel bad for laughing, but the way you're talking about it is so raw and funny. And they were like, you have to find a way to talk about this on stage. And I was like, well, how would I talk about this on stage? And they were like, stand up. So I started writing, and it was the thing that I threw myself into on the onset of that relationship. And my first jokes were all about abuse and court and heavy, tough things to talk about on stage that I only now at 2.5 years into stand-up feel comfortable weaving into my set. And it's got to be the right room and the right vibe. But yeah, I was and looking in hindsight, I've had a lot of mental and emotional abuse from other partners, but there was definitely one relationship in particular that was pretty pivotal to me as a person and a creative. So yeah,
that's an interesting thing to bring up, about having that material first, because, and I embarrassingly, I've been doing stand-up longer. I'm not as good, but you do want to talk about real issues, like Chelsea said. And you just said as well, there's an art to being emotional, raw, vulnerable, and then flipping it and saying, let's laugh at that. And certainly it's not something you can do when you first start stand-up. No matter how fast you get good, it's something that takes time, and you can't do it right away. And that can be frustrating, I guess. You have to kind of sit on these things for a couple years until you figure out how to put them in a set.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because the truth is there, and the funny is there, and the authenticity in the story is there.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's like anything else. It's like anything else too. It's like you're always gonna know how to be funny, but maybe now you just need to learn how to be funny in this way. You have to adopt a new skill. And somebody told me this early on when I started stand up, and I was talking about these things. And granted, I'm not gonna name names or say anything, but I didn't like the way they presented this advice, but I see the point in it now. And they said, you're trying to talk about some like real shit up there. And I said, well, yeah, that's why I want to do this. It's why I'm starting this. I can't do this during improv. I can't do this in a sketch. This is the way that I can do this. This is how I'm falling in love with this. And they said, you need to learn to talk talk about the things you need to talk about now just so you can grow, and you'll work up to talking about those things. Now, at the time, I was like, no, bullshit. Like, this is my truth and my story, and I think it's funny, and I'm blah, blah, blah. And only now in hindsight, 2.5, 3 years in, I can see that it was like, oh, I see what they're saying. You know, build your confidence and build your voice so that you get to a point that you know how to present these things. Because you do have to lead people there. And this goes for on and off stage. People even off stage don't want to hear about it. You know, even your friends and your family don't. That's how you stay in it for so long. And it's really hard for them to hear about the details of it, or hear that you're going back to this person, or they have this vision of you in their head. That's probably true, because it's the vision of you as a strong, safe, capable individual. And then you're telling them these details, and they're seeing these things happen to you that are not that version of you. And it's this compromised person who's in a weak spot and who's being abused and doesn't have a clear sense or a path ahead of them. And it's hard for them to reconcile those two versions of who it is they know you are and have always seen you as, and what it is that's in front of them. So I would say that there's a lot of growth that happened there, and that learning how to talk about it. I was able to talk about it on stage because I've learned how to talk about it to the people around me. And then I was able to even now talk about it to the people around me and to the masses, because I know how to talk about it on stage as well too. But you have to also understand, it's like stage is weird too, because these people don't know you and they don't know your background. So you have to like lead them there. But I will say it feels equally as foreign. Like, there were times in that relationship where I said things and details to the people closest to me, and they looked at me the way an audience member who's never met me has looked at me. Like, what? Like, how are you going through this? Like, is this real? Are you okay? And the same way an audience member has looked at me like that when I tried to like squeeze one of those jokes into a set, and they're like, what? Is this real? Are you really talking about this right now? And I don't know, part of this stuff too, the darker, harder things, especially things that people don't necessarily go through every day, is that, you know, you have to kind of accept that the reaction to these things isn't always going to be positive. Or, you know, you might not necessarily get a laugh. Maybe that's not even what you're after, you know, or you are going to tell people around you or people that you start dating that this is what you've been through, and they might not know how to handle it. And I guess that's human too. It's hard for them to hear, and it's uncomfortable for them to reconcile and stuff. So but the thing is, I'll leave it with this, like, you can't change your truth, whatever that is. So you might as well say it and make the most of it, right? Like, so it's like, I can't change that this happened to me, so I can either choose to bury it and let it be a closeted demon in my life, or I can like take it into my own hands and do something with it.
No, I agree. You have to get it out, and certainly it helps if you know how to get it out. What I've found is sometimes, for me, again, I can only speak for me, and I would consider myself not amazing comic, but, you know, a little bit past open micer.
I think you're great.
I like this interview a lot. Thank you. I think you're great too. But
Thank you. I like this interview a lot.
Oh yeah, you're nothing like Chelsea. She doesn't say I'm great this much. No.
Tough love.
Yeah, no, and I appreciate that too. In all seriousness, I appreciate everything and every part of Chelsea and who she is to me. What I was going to say was, I find sometimes with more serious topics, I need time. I mean actual time in the set to, I can't come out and drop something super heavy if I only am doing a 5-minute set, because that's not enough time for me to unpack it. If I'm going to talk about something super heavy, I would like at least maybe a 7 to 10 minute set where I can kind of say like, here, look, see, I'm funny, trust me. Now we're going to take a really hard turn. Oh, there's that thing we're going to unpack, and we're going to unpack it for a minute, and I'm going to explain it, and we're going to make it okay, and we're going to talk about it. We're going to destigmatize it, and then we're going to get to a point where we're laughing at it, and then I'm going to leave you with something that really makes you laugh, just so you have a good taste in your mouth. And I am not skilled enough. I'm sure somebody more skilled than I can do it in 5 minutes. I am not skilled enough to do that in 5 minutes with some of the stuff
I
that
can't
I
do
like
it
to
in
talk
5
about.
minutes. I don't think 5 minutes does it justice either. You know, I mean, yeah, sure, maybe there are comics that can touch on those things, and yeah, they are decades into this art form, sure, maybe, you know, but I mean, I think that it's an experience with a lot of breadth and depth, and to limit it to 5 minutes is tough. That's a lot, because there's a lot that the audience needs to know, and especially if you really want them to understand where you're coming from, you want to be able to, like, it's also storytelling. Like, I don't know if I have some one-liners about it, but you know, I really have to, the room doesn't respond well to that. And that's the thing too, is it's like, I think even myself, all of us, we're still trying to find our audience. And I think when I find my audience and I really fully curated it and I find those people, I think they're going to want to hear about it, no matter whether it's 5 minutes or 10 minutes or whatever it is. It's just going to take a lot of trial and error to get there. And then also maybe I've also come to accept that maybe this is material that is just not for every room. And that's also okay too. Maybe, you know,
Yeah.
it's for the people who, you know, are on board with you. And then you're like, okay, I can go there and talk about this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll even ask an audience, like, do you guys want to hear about this thing? Because if you don't, that's fine. But
It's gonna get heavy.
a little bit of consent. Like, this is gonna go a heavy place.
Right.
Back to domestic violence. So, how can a woman, and certainly it can be a man or it can be a non-binary person, any person that's in a domestic violence situation, how can they identify that they're in a domestic violence situation, or a bad situation domestically?
I think any feeling of not feeling, anytime you don't feel safe, you probably just shouldn't be with that part. And that safe goes for a lot of reasons. It goes for physical safety, and it also goes for, I think, emotional safety. You want to know that your heart is in the hands of someone who can take care of it properly. You know, there's emotional safety with that too. I will say that your intuition and your better senses are challenged often. You know, that's a classic thing that abusers do, is that they try to make you feel like as if whatever it is they're doing to you is your fault, and that the reality that you know to be true is actually not. So it's some really severe mind games and gaslighting, and then before you know it, you're like, I don't know what came first, the chicken or the egg. Is this my fault? Like, it can get really muddled. So I will say, trying to stay true to yourself and your own instincts. Like, if you know it's unsafe, it's unsafe. If you know it's wrong, it's wrong. Because an abuser will do anything in their power to make you feel otherwise, for sure. So knowing that, and it's way easier said than done, but it's about always constantly relying on and believing in yourself and knowing that there's greater than. I have it tattooed on my wrist. I went through severe therapy and support groups and treatments and stuff on the onset of that. And like the one tenet, I think it's with addiction as well too, but also with any kind of trauma, is that you're always greater than, right? And it's always that belief that you're greater than whatever it is that just happened to you, and you're greater than whatever it is that you're going through. And I got it tattooed as that reminder. I look down at my wrist anytime I feel like compromised or disrespected now, and I try to remember all of that stuff. So always remembering that you are bigger than what it is that you're going through, and that if you are in it, there's no shame. You're not less than for being in it by any means. And that if you do feel like it is something that you should leave or you should pull yourself out of, you can do it on your own terms, at your own pace. And trying to remember that there is greater than, like, wait, and it's way easier said than done. It's so much, because that person can very easily become your world, and you're like, well, if I leave, what am I running to? It gets very sloppy, and it's way, if you haven't been in it, I can understand how a lot of people on the outside looking in are like, why wouldn't you just leave, or how come you let this happen? And that's super easy to say, again, if you're not in the arena, if you're not the person in the experience. But if you are, it's not your fault. Trust your instincts. And whenever you are ready to leave, you can. You can. And there is always better on the other side, even if you don't feel it in that moment, because that'll stop you from leaving, because you'll feel like, this is all I have. Even if it's bad, this is all I have. But there's way more, and there's way better. What can
A domestic violence, a victim of domestic violence, do to get out? Because it's one thing to say get out, but it's another thing in the moment to actually do it. What's something that you would suggest?
There is usually no reasoning with an abuser. unfortunately. So these exits tend to be cold turkey, fleeting. I ran like a refugee, really, like from my ex, like really like changed a flight, packed up, fled his apartment, blocked, ran to a court, filed a restraining. That was the only way out, really. So I would take the people that feel safe to you and rely on them and confide in them and use, it's okay to ask for help. I know you're in a really weak and compromising situation where you don't feel that great anyway, but it's very okay and very necessary to ask for help. And the domestic violence, I mean, like Safe Horizon is a great national network. The National Coalition for Domestic Violence has great national and local resources too. Use them. There's no shame in it. You know, they'll give you a place to stay. They'll give you a place to get medical care. They'll give you a therapist. They'll give you somebody to talk to. And there's a little bit of accountability there too. Like using those resources is really, really huge because they'll hold you accountable to your own safety. You know, like there's kind of no turning back once you go to one of those shelters and you're like, I need help. Get me out. Like, and I'm in something and I need to be out. There's some heightened level. Like now you have all these people here and now there's a little bit more accountability for yourself and ways to fall back on. So, be ruthless in your exit. I will say that too. Be ruthless in your exit.
You did a great job, and you answered the questions that I had to follow up with, which were what resources are out there. You named some resources. Thank you. And then what would you like survivors of domestic violence, victims of domestic violence, to know? I think you kind of answered it. That's all I had written about it. Is there anything else you'd like to say about domestic violence and being a survivor of it?
If you are going through it, there is no fault to you and there is nothing wrong with you. You will be made to feel that way from both your abuser and a lot of people in your life. The entire inherent like core tenets of manipulation and power and abuse and control are that there is an imbalance between you and another person. Or if in a government, there's an imbalance between a government and its people, its leader and its people. Like it's inherently that the playing field is not equal. So removing yourself of any kind of guilt that you did anything to deserve this or that there's something that you did wrong, that's, you know, freeing yourself from that and just remembering that you can turn your life around like literally at any moment. Like there's a lot of emotions that come with this and a lot of them are really ugly and they can follow you for years. But like the most important moment in that entire relationship is the day that you wake up and you're like, that's it. And that's it. You know, that's it. It's incredible. People will beg you to get out of it and you'll lose a lot of friends. It's an ugly process. You'll lose a lot of people. A lot of things around you will like fall under wreckage, but it's incredible what happens the day and the second that you decide to actually get out of it. That's the only moment that matters. That's it. Like, you know, my whole family forgot about every other moment.
Absolutely.
All my actual friends forgot about any other moment. I called them. I stressed them out. They were caught in the embers of a drunken fight with my ex or they had to pull me out of trouble or what. Nothing else matters. So there's no shame or guilt because the second that you say to people, I'm out and I'm leaving, that's the only moment that matters. And then you can start anew from that moment forward.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Mm-hmm. You created Catcall. Was that in part from being a domestic violence survivor? And I want to ask this artfully, but also I want to ask this bluntly and heavy-handedly. Was that born out of being a domestic violence survivor, or was that just born out of being a woman on Earth?
A woman on Earth.
Okay. And
it evolved into also being a domestic violence survivor. Yeah. I started Catcall pre that relationship. And it's just a women's network. And we do in-person events, pre-pandemic and now virtual events. And we create content for women. However you identify, you are welcome. It's not exclusive. There's no membership fee. There's no any of that. It's just content for femmes and femme-identifying people to relate to and to feel empowered by in those events too, and to try to bridge the gap, you know, and create equality there too. It started when I was in the music business and I just wanted to create a community where people could like network, safely and empower each other. And then it's just kind of evolved into this greater thing that's like arts and media and cooking, and it has all these different sectors and sub communities in it, which is great. So yeah, it started off as just being a woman and like having struggles with that and wanting to speak to those or create a safe space for people experiencing the same things. And then about like a year or so in, when catcall really started to take off, coincidentally is when I was leaving this relationship. So then catcall definitely started to take on a little bit more of a like domestic abuse focus. So that and reproductive rights will always be like two of our main focuses and things that we like really, really advocate for. But I mean, if it's relevant to women, then it's relevant to us. So
where can people find catcall?
Online at We Are Catcall. On socials, we have an Etsy store with cool merch that we're donating portions to various organizations all throughout Women's Month as well too. And there's no fees. There's no really, like, you know, if you want to be in catcall and you associate and support it, then you're in it. That's really it. And our events are open to anybody virtually and in person. Our content's available. I have a podcast called Bad Women. So there's a handful of episodes up right now. New episodes every Thursday. So if you support catcall, you know, come one, come all. It's all, you know, there are events and content for everybody, really.
You're an excellent guest, because my next question was actually about Bad Women. It is a podcast, and I'm stealing this from what I read. It's a podcast powered by Catcall. A description of the podcast says, meet women who are creating community, driving change, and starting the conversation right on the front lines, daring to do and say the things that others won't, and more than okay with getting in trouble in the process. What are the things that others won't say?
Stories of domestic violence, stories of gender and sexual inequality in the workplace, the ugly parts of sexuality and defining that. Not ugly, the tougher parts, the hidden parts of that. I want to say the uglier parts of reproductive rights of women. Tough stories, tough things that, you know, you wouldn't, that a lot of people would shy away from. A lot of people also don't really want to know about women's reproductive rights or health because if it doesn't concern them, they don't care. So that's a part of it too. So it's all the things that people would tell you aren't appropriate to say, or are too personal, or are too controversial, or maybe you might get told to quiet down in a boardroom, or you shouldn't talk about that on stage, or obviously you're a female comic, so you talk about sex on stage, or whatever it is. You know, trying to create a podcast for those people who are saying the things that other people think that they shouldn't.
What does it mean to get in trouble in the process?
Taking flack. I think that's how you know when you're striking a chord. You start taking flack for things. You start getting a little resistance. People disagree with you. People are like, you shouldn't do that, you know. I think that's how you know when you're starting to say something that's authentic and that's truthful. It's when you start to get haters a little bit, or being willing to do something without permission, but then, you know, it's easier to say sorry than to ask if it's okay, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because sometimes in a lot of fields, especially in like arts and comedy and things like that, or corporate settings, women will wait forever for the permission to do things that men just do. You know, and so that's what the getting trouble in the process is being willing to be like, I'm just going to do this because I want to, or I'm going to make my own rules, or I'm going to say no to something, or I'm going to speak up even if a lot of people I can tell in this room don't want me to. I'm just going to do so. So those are the stories that make history, and those are the stories that inspire other people to do the same. So
not equivalent, and I'm not trying to equate the two, but my drag mom gave me some of the best advice ever. About a year into my career, and said, if you look, you're good, with what you're doing, you're going to have haters, and that means that you're doing it right, and so expect it and keep going when they start hating. So I share that with you because you kind of shared it with me, and somebody else vocalized it and verbalized it in a way that I never would have thought. So
no, absolutely. I had Liz Winstead, who is the founder of Abortion Access Fund. She also co-created The Daily Show. She's also I admire her so much. I love her so much. She told me, we were both on a comedy show together, and she said, being a woman and being on that stage, no matter what year it is or what time it is, like, people aren't gonna, there's always gonna be people who don't want to hear you talk and don't want you to talk about that, don't want you up there, and don't want you to talk about the things you're talking about. So she's like, you might as well just do it. Yeah. Because she's like, there's people you're never going to make happy. So she's already going to hate the fact that you're even up there to begin with. So just go. Yeah. You know? Yeah.
Yeah. Where can people listen to Bad Women?
Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor, everywhere. Anchor, Apple, Spotify. And I do mostly weekly episodes. Sometimes I fall behind a little bit, but for the most part, it's every Thursday.
It's a pandemic, so I don't think anyone can hold you.
It's hard out here.
People can't hold you to a standard like time. What is time? I think Chelsea said.
Right. So what is anything? Really?
What is time? Yeah. Unless it's dinner time in an Italian household on a Sunday, and then
what is time?
Right. Well, probably 2:30 in the afternoon for the first dinner. Okay. Before we get to rapid fire questions, just to kind of like I was describing how I would talk about something heavy in the middle of a stand-up set and then end with something a little lighter. You have a web series that's out, The Disastrous Diane.
Yes. It is out. It is my little baby. It's my pride and joy. We have episode 1 up on Vimeo. It's awesome. It's great. I created it with Joseph Patrick Conroy created it. He's fantastic. Director, writer, cinematographer through his company Americana Media. And it's very Fleabag, high maintenance-esque. And I think it's a very realistic, raw take on somebody who is trying to find love and connection in New York City and is both feet in and both feet out. And is, I think it's realistic. I think it's a little bit different than Sex in the City in that there isn't, Diane falls hard, but Diane also knows when to leave. And they're all based on true stories submitted from Joe's friend Lori and some from me as well, too. So the episodes are very real, very weird, very unique. And there's like a little element of like surrealism in all of them too. They're like just one guy, one episode, one story. And you see how Diane meets him, sees all this potential that she tries to write off all of the red flags. And then they're unavoidable and she can't unsee them. And then it all kind of crashes and burns. So, yeah.
Okay. And where can people find that? On Vimeo, you said?
Vimeo, yes. We have at Disastrous Diane Series on Instagram, and then all of the episodes and stuff for episode 1 and the trailers on Vimeo, and then episode 2 is coming.
Cool.
Soon. Yeah.
Soon. Yeah. Okay. What is time?
What is time? Right, exactly. We're in a pandemic. What is life? What is time?
I want to say thank you really quick because you've spent so much time and we've covered so much.
Of course. This was wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, no, thank you. Do we have time for rapid fire or shall we just come back another time?
I have 9% battery, so we have time for a couple rapid fires.
Okay. You go as fast as you want.
I have no idea where my charger is, by the way, so I gotta go.
That's okay.
It's a pandemic, right? Mercury's retrograde, probably. Anyways.
Right. Yeah. Do you wear wigs ever? Do you have a favorite wig color?
I don't wear them that often. If I did, I would probably love like a silver.
Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah.
I should wear them more often, or sew my hair as a wig. But no, yeah, they're fun. They're so fun. I don't wear them enough.
It's another note I need to make for you and not for the audience. So show you a silver wig. Okay. When you put in 45 episodes, Chelsea and one other person have answered the question one way. Everyone else answers it the other way. When you put on a bra, do you clasp it in front and spin it around, or do you do the unnatural arm thing and clasp it in the back like an alien?
I clasp it in front.
Oh yeah, no, that's
spin it around.
That's everybody except Chelsea and one other
Chelsea
person.
Clasp it in the back.
Yeah, and I'm like, how?
It's too complicated.
What hinges are in your arms that aren't in other people's?
I always loop it around, make sure the straps are like not tangled.
Yeah.
Clamp, turn.
Yeah. Every
Right.
drag queen I've had, and some people just pull them. They strap it and then they pull it over their head, and I'm like, all right, that.
Oh,
if,
that's a whole other menagerie.
if that works, I
That's
think
a
that
whole
sounds a
other
lot
thing.
more difficult. I think it's just easier to just clasp it and spin like a sit and spin, but whatever works for you.
A sit and spin.
It is. It's a sit and spin that you wear.
That's amazing.
How high is too high for high heels?
No such thing.
Okay.
No.
I
thing.
have a
If you-
limit myself, but
If
for
you
you,
look good, feel good, and you could still walk in. If you could still walk in them, that's my answer.
Well,
You
what's-
could still
what's-
walk in them.
what's too high
What?
for you?
What's the biggest pair? I think I have 6-inch heels, 6-inch stilettos.
Oh,
So then that makes me like 5'2", probably. I don't know.
that's all I wear. 6-inch stilettos.
Yeah.
Um,
I have like one pair of 6-inchers. That's it. For girls' nights. That's it.
If you were going up live in a comedy club setting, whatever, tonight, what would your walk-up song be?
Oh, I never know how to answer this. Producers always ask me. I don't care. Anything.
Okay.
As long as it's not, I don't like when they're like, I was on a show recently and they tried to play like Gwen Stefani's like, I'm just a girl. And I was the only girl on the lineup. And I was like, okay. It was all like straight cis men. And I was like, okay. Like, I don't like that. Or like Material Girl by Madonna. Well, I love that song. But you know what I mean? Like, so I really don't, I don't care. It was just that one instance that I had let them pick the song and they picked I'm Just a Girl by Gwen Stefani or No Doubt.
I
And
feel
was
like they should run that by you, and it would be less offensive.
a little bit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
But outside of that, I don't care.
Favorite recurring show to perform in?
I love anything at Villain Theater in Miami.
Okay.
Any of their programming. I always have a really good time there.
That answers
yeah.
the next question, which
Or my own show, Improvised Tarot. That's always a great time.
And where can people watch that one?
Bi-weekly, every Sunday. The next one is March 14th. We have to skip next weekend. But yeah, it's on my socials and everything. But usually bi-weekly, 5 p.m. Eastern.
Bi-weekly meaning every 2 weeks or twice a week?
Every 2 weeks.
Okay, because that
Yep.
one means both. I've looked it up. It's very
Does it
confusing.
really?
Yeah.
You learn something new every day, every 2 weeks.
I
at
seek
5
to
p.m. Eastern
educate.
on Thursday.
That's what I exist for. I look like an educator. I live it. My next question was, what's your favorite venue? But I think you just answered it with your favorite recurring show.
Oh, yeah.
What's the funniest thing an audience member has ever said to you after a show?
After a show?
Mm-hmm.
Just now, the other night at the Miami Improv, a woman came up to me and she said, I didn't know they let children on stage.
Ma'am.
Yeah.
Is
And
it-
then I said, she said, I didn't know they let children. She said, I didn't know they let children at the Miami Improv, at the Improv. And I said, well, they let your husband in. And I should have been nicer, but I was pissed off at that remark. And then I walked away. So that was the weirdest thing.
Were
Yes.
you wearing hand-me-downs from your friend's daughter?
No.
Okay.
No, I was wearing my own grown-up clothing. And I was what was most upset.
Yeah. Well, I'm just because like if I was wearing a kid's T-shirt, I would be like, okay, you got me, because you saw it in the kids section at Target, and then I was wearing it. So touche, old woman. Which do you think the COVID-19 pandemic has affected more, the straight dating scene or the gay dating scene?
The straight dating scene.
Okay. You don't have to answer every question, but I ask every guest, what's your favorite sex position?
Reverse cowgirl.
Oh, okay, cool, yeah. What's your favorite thing about the existence of brunch?
Day drinking.
Good answer.
Yeah.
Do you cook or bake?
Bake. I'm an okay cook. I'm a killer baker.
Oh, how does
Really
that?
good baker.
How does that
Yeah.
sit with your family?
My mom and I tag team. My
Okay.
mom hates baking for some random reason, but she's obviously an incredible cook, Italian mother. And then I handle the baking. Like, she's like, just buy it and make it out of the store, the store box. I'm like, no, make it from scratch. So
Oh,
I'm a very good
scratch
baker.
baker. Okay, that's a different class of baker. Umbrella
Yeah.
term baking, scratch and store bought is okay. That's a whole.
Scratch store bought is offensive to me. I'm like, take that shit out of here.
We don't have
Yeah.
enough battery power in your laptop to get into that umbrella term, but we could do it
No,
another time.
no, we don't.
If we are at the bar after a show and someone is buying us drinks, what are we drinking?
Either a spicy margarita, I love with like jalapenos and a nice kick, or I love a good classic old fashioned.
Okay, I'll join you for the old fashioned. You can have my margarita.
Good.
If someone's buying us shots, what are we shooting?
Tequila.
Oh, yeah, you can have my shot. We're not compatible, or maybe we are.
No.
Maybe we're compatible drinkers because you can have like your mom
We
and
can
you tag
complement
team.
each other, right?
Yeah.
What do you take a shot of?
Almost anything but tequila.
Really?
Yeah. Really anything. Whiskey. Vodka.
Okay. See, if I'm doing a shot, I just go for the jugular at that point. If we're doing shots, I'm like, it might as well be the most painful thing. Tequila. Why not? Yeah.
I mean, whiskey gets you there, and it's just not as terrible.
True.
DC or Marvel?
I don't care either way.
Okay. Most important question I can ask: toilet paper, over or under?
Over.
Thank you. Okay, I do like you as a
Right.
person.
There's a right answer there, and it's over.
Yeah, I'll tell you. In 45 episodes, the wrong answer is not under. The wrong answer is I don't care.
You're like, you should care. You
Yeah,
should care.
that one has driven me insane when people are like, I don't care. I'm like, you can't be toilet paper verse. Like,
No.
you
At
have
least,
to
especially in the pandemic, you have to have a preference
pick.
about that now.
Yeah, just even if you're wrong and you say under, pick.
Pick something. Yeah.
Do you have a favorite comic?
Eliza Schlesinger.
Oh, she's great. She's great.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite drag queen?
You.
Oh, thank you. I feel like I haven't earned that, but thank you.
No, you have. You totally have.
Okay. You've never seen me perform. I could be terrible.
No, I know you're gonna be great. Yeah.
Do you have a favorite drag king?
No.
Okay. I'll have to think of some and suggest some. I know
Okay.
there's one in Chicago, Tenderoni. Amazing.
I've heard of Tenderoni. Okay, I'll check it out. Okay.
Tenderoni's amazing. Second to last question. I don't even need to ask because you've been so complimentary of me, and this is just to make me feel good. Do you think I'm pretty?
Absolutely beautiful.
Thank you. And then finally, last question. When all of this is over and you can go back to an old normal, a new normal, whatever kind of normal, what's the first thing you want to do?
Go clubbing. Go dancing and go clubbing. That's what I miss the most.
There's-
And not that I even did it all that often beforehand, but I'm a longtime dancer and I love a good night out dancing. Like, you can't rip me off the dance floor. I will sweat through my clothes until like 4:30 in the morning. And obviously that's dead and gone now in the pandemic. So the second this is safe to do that, I'm going to be sweating up on people dancing on a dance floor. Yeah.
That's a popular answer. There's no wrong answer to that. It's whatever people miss.
Whatever you miss.
Brittany Brave, that was my interview. That's all the questions I have. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. This was wonderful from start to finish.
Absolutely.
Thank
I can't
you.
wait to goss with you and fill you in on some stuff that would be boring for other people, but we can
But very
hand talk.
relevant for us.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Sorry, guys. It's called Behind the Scenes. Sorry.
Yeah, that's a whole different, that's just for us. Where can people find you next?
At Brittany Brave and BrittanyBrave.com. All of my shows, mostly on Instagram. Brittany Brave on Instagram. BRITTANY Brave. That's where all my shows, all my waking moments are. So just go follow me and stalk me there.
Okay, cool. People should tune in to Improvised Tarot and follow you on Instagram and check out your podcast and your website.
There's something for everybody.
Something for you're a hustler. You're doing a lot.
I'm trying.
In a good way. So keep doing it, and thank you so much for joining us. It was a pleasure, and I can't wait to talk to you later.
Thank you so much. Mwah.
Mwah. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. All right, peers and queers, that was Brittany Brave. Her information was below her on the screen. Do give her a follow wherever you are, California, New York, Miami, somewhere in the middle. I didn't get one corner. I guess Forks, Washington, where Twilight happened. I don't know. Whatever is the corner of that corner. Follow her, and you won't be disappointed. There's something for everyone. So make sure you do that. With that, we're going to get to the end of our show. wishes he was more Italian than he is, but he still talks with his hands. Writer, actor, producer, whatever he's failing at lately, David Shapiro. Hi, David.
Hey, Suzette. How are you?
I'm okay, a little bit tired.
Oh, I'm okay. Thank you for asking.
I didn't ask, actually.
I just wanted to compliment you, if
Thank
I could.
you.
I know you're not expecting that from me.
I do not trust you.
But you've been booking, this is what, your 45th show?
Yeah, that's
45th
what we
show?
just said that. Were you
and
listening?
I think you've been booking some pretty cool guests.
Yeah.
I just wanted to take a moment and say that.
Thank you. You will never be one.
Yeah.
You can come on at the end of the show.
Yeah. Brittany Brave tonight was really cool.
Yeah. Totally cool.
It's sobering to see that she's been doing stand up about the same amount of time that I have.
No, she said half. 'Cause you're 4.5 years. Yeah. So why aren't you better?
Why am I not better?
Yeah. Why aren't you better?
Maybe. I don't know. Perhaps helping you with all of your stuff splits my attention. I don't know. You're pretty high maintenance, I think.
Excuse me.
Is what I would say. So that certainly takes away from, helping write jokes for you. Takes away from writing jokes for myself.
Brittany does a lot. Chelsea does a lot. I does a lot.
Yeah, well, I mean, let me ask you.
You don't does a lot.
You've been doing stand-up now for 4 years, too. Why aren't you better at stand-up?
Oh,
Suzette?
well, because I'm splitting my time between drag and stand-up, but both are very demanding, so. What's your excuse?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a good reason.
It certainly is.
But, okay, if that's what you say.
That's what I say.
What else is going on with you? Anything?
Well, brunch. Like I talked. Do you watch the show Brunch?
I don't.
What?
Actually, didn't mean to engage you in conversation.
I hate you.
I think. What did I see in the news? Senator Crowley from Missouri is back at it again. I like to talk about how awful of a person he is. So he's back being delusional at the CPAC. WandaVision is amazing.
It is.
I've been watching that pretty consistently. Episode 8 was just out. And, I think the world's coming back online slowly here. United States anyway. The world's back online for a while now. The United States is coming back online slowly as vaccines are rolled out.
Yes.
I'm a little bit worried about, I think I've mentioned it before on your show, OCD PTSD, which is what I'm calling it. Obsessive compulsive disorder, PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. And I've combined those two because germophobia, which, I think a lot of people are going to experience as they, what's the word? Re-engage with the world around them.
Okay.
I think they're going to experience some germophobia, which is a form of OCD, of course. And I think they're going to have some PTSD. It's going to be hard for people to get close to each other again, maybe. I don't know. I hope not, honestly. I hope people are fine and can just go back to regular life. I certainly wouldn't want people living on the plane of existence that I do with germophobia. It's not fun at all.
Yeah, no one should be like you.
So yeah, that's something that I think about sometimes.
Okay.
And I don't know. I didn't have much to talk about tonight, so I won't take much of your time. WandaVision's been good, and yeah. Excuse me. Woo. I'm tired. What time is it?
It's 7:28.
It's a little bit early for me to be tired. Yet here I am, tired. How are you doing? Let me take a moment and check in with you. Are you tired? Are you okay? How are you? What have you been up to?
Well, thank you for letting me talk. I'm a little tired, and I could use some rest, but my night's not over. I have another show to go to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Fourth show of the day. What are you doing?
You should be
Nothing.
tired too. probably.
I am. I just said that.
Sounds like it.
Yeah.
But I'm glad to hear brunch is going well.
It is.
And
very well.
you know, I'm glad to hear you're doing okay. Of course, I talk to you enough, but it's nice to make pleasantries with you on your show, as though we don't talk. Yeah. Once again, I just want to compliment your hair as of late. Of course, not a compliment to you, a compliment to Liz.
Yes.
Liz is great. Yeah. Oh. So people can see her tonight in Sacramento?
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yeah. No. That's where I'm going.
I might.
Are you going? You're gonna go
there to watch Liz. I appreciate. I don't know why. I appreciate a good drag performance as much as anyone,
Okay.
which is why I don't necessarily appreciate you.
Oh.
But that sounds like a good
terrible.
show tonight over at Badlands.
It's at Badlands.
So maybe I'll
and
try to
it's
get
a
over
Sunday
there
showcase. You should go.
and watch. If I don't, please tell. If you talk to Liz, please tell her hello for me.
I will.
And also Bijou, please
I
tell
will.
her hello for me. And let's see, you said Mercury.
I didn't.
And
but you might-
Helen, tell her hello as well if you want.
Okay.
No, Helen is great too.
I will pass
So
it
yeah.
on.
Anyway, just wanted to say happy 45th episode, and
Thank you.
and keep doing it. And plum season is back. I do love plums. We won't go into a whole thing here. I just really like drupes is the thing. Plums, olives, cherries, nectarines, apricots. Of course, the plum apricot hybrid aprium.
What are you talking about?
Delicious. All drupes are good. Drupe life is really the way to live life. So plums are back, and the weather's starting to get a little nicer. We did have some crazy ass wind lately, 45 mile per hour gusts.
Yes.
Ugh. So, anyway, that's all I got, dude. So, take care. I'm gonna either go see this show that you mentioned or roll over and go to sleep. I'm not really sure which. So,
Okay, I'm gonna
thank
go-
you for having me on,
You're welcome.
as always. And,
See you
I don't know. Maybe we'll talk WandaVision next week. That could be fun, because it'll be over. So
Yes.
then we can talk about it. And if
We
anyone
can,
has
but
problem
what about
with spoilers,
spoilers?
don't wait to watch one of the most amazing TV shows ever. So
We agree on
there's only
one
9
thing.
episodes. You could even do that between when the next one comes out and your show on Sunday, because it comes out Thursday at midnight. And each episode is less than an hour, so you could easily knock them all out on a Saturday. So, yeah, maybe we'll talk about WandaVision next week. Okay.
Okay.
Bye, Suzette.
Oh, okay. Bye, David. Always so abrupt. Goodbye. Whatever, David Shapiro. Anyway, that's the show. Thank you to Clifton. Thank you to Chelsea. Thank you to Brittany Brave. Thank you to Jesse. Thank you to Stab. Thank you to you, the viewers. We will be back next week on March 7th at 5:03 p.m. with Steph Sanders, a comedian from Sacramento, another amazing guest, and it will be an amazing Sunday if you want to spend it with us. So we'll see you then. Thank you so much for watching.
Hypnotized, the city's your playground. I watch you take a bite. At 5 a.m. roaming the streets, drunk all night. You think you're hot shit, and ooh, I love it. I love it. Yeah, yeah.